I would call to order the Village of Westmont Planning and Zoning Commission for the regular meeting here today, Wednesday, June 10th, 2026. Have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Simpson here. Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
Commissioner Peterson. Commissioner Lynn. Commissioner Donahue.
Here.
Commissioner Charleston.
Here.
Commissioner Carmichael.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. Would everyone please join me, rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Don't sit down. Anybody who is going to testify has to be sworn in. So if you intend to testify, please raise your right hand and swear that any and all testimony you give will be the complete truth. So help you God.
I thank you.
And a reminder to silence your phones and any other electronic devices. Reminder also that anyone who testifies needs to sign in with their contact information and their name, either at the podium or at the clipboard out in the hallway. Next item, approval of minutes of our May 13th regular meeting. I know you've all read those meetings. Do I have a motion to approve? So moved. Motion Thomas.
Second.
A second O'Donoghue. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson. Commissioner Lynn. Commissioner Donahue.
Yes.
Commissioner Charleston.
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Commissioner Chairperson Carmichael.
Yes. Okay. Okay, as you know, this is a public hearing, so I'll briefly go over the protocol of the procedures for public hearings. First, the applicant petitioner is introduced and will then present his or her petition. That's followed by Westmont Village staff comments on the petition, its background and so forth. And then the public gets a chance to come to the podium and make comments, ask questions. Please all direct your comments and questions to the commission, not back to the audience. We have the village attorney here for his assistance, and when the public comments are finished, then we'll go to the commissioners for our questions, comments. The petitioner can respond to the public comments also. I wanted to mention that. And finally, after the discussion, we should get to a commissioner's vote. I would remind everyone that this commission is not regulatory. We're recommending body to the village board. The final approving authority is the village board itself. Okay, under old business, our first item this evening is PZC 010-2026, a request from 814 CRE, the petitioner, and Encore, the CW, the owner, for the property at 6120 South Cass for the following: major site plan approval for a daycare center in the C1 commercial zoning district. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to come back before you. Thank you to staff for meeting with us and working through a revision of a site plan that we think achieves a great outcome for the city as well as our tenant. Just to orient everybody, this is the parcel on Cass just south of the Encore car wash that we discussed at the last meeting. You may recall the previous layouts with a clockwise and counterclockwise circulation pattern. In working with staff, engineering department, and fire department, we came up with what we had discussed in concept, I think, at our last meeting. So eliminating the front drive, pulling the building forward a little bit, adding that to the landscape buffer, providing the 90-degree parking along the access road, and keeping the rear of the site with the bulk of the parking and the dumpster in the rear. that portion remains greatly unchanged. We've had a chance to review the staff report. Landscaping, that is no problem. That is being addressed right now. No issue on the rooftop units, and any of the building materials were committed to those revisions that were made at that time. So, would be happy to answer any questions you have, and would ask for a positive recommendation to City Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Staff comments?
Thank you, Chair. So this is an item that was continued from our last meeting. Specifically, on May 13th, the Commission decided to continue the item to revisit some of the parking and traffic flow issues that were raised at the previous meeting. Since that time, the petitioner has reached out to staff and discussed potential alternatives. We sat down with the fire department and our engineering staff, and our planning staff was also there to discuss some situations that might better fit what the commission saw as issues coming on to Cass Avenue, or coming into the property in Cass Avenue, and circulation on site. So some of the major changes that you can see on the site plan is that the front parking lot was removed from the plans, as well as the circular drive at the south of the site. That drive aisle was also removed, and in its place, the petitioner has provided parking on the north side of the property and utilizing the access road as the drive aisle. The fire department did not raise any concerns regarding the fire truck apparatus and maneuvering. The engineers agreed that the site circulation is better this way and does not cause issues on Cass Avenue. If there's a potential backup, it'll all be all on site rather than on Cass Avenue as you come into the site. The petitioner also provided some minor changes to the outdoor play area with the expansion to the south a bit. Neighboring this property is a commercial property to the south, and then to the north is Encore Car Wash, which is also a commercial property. The elevations of the building and lighting designs and dumpster enclosure all remain the same from the previous plans. Some items were also updated, include the landscape plan was updated, which is in your packet as well, and I believe shown on screen right now. Substantial landscaping still shown on the front of the property facing Cass Avenue. They updated their sign location to provide the 5-foot buffer around the sign itself, the ground sign, which is in compliance with code. However, there are a few items related to the landscape plan that need to be worked out before permitting. So if the commission votes to approve or recommend approval for the site plan, we do ask that the conditions listed in the staff report are carried along to the village board and ultimately into the ordinance. Those include landscaping next to parking stalls shall provide 2 feet of clearance for doors and vehicle overhang. The landscape plan shows an incorrect labeling for the eastern red cedar in the rear parking lot, which needs to be rectified. There's a missing plant label in the northeast planting bed that should be added to the plant list not shown on this page. And then an evergreen shrub should be planted around the utility equipment to the northeast planting bed. The petitioner, like I've stated prior, has worked with village staff to try to rectify some of those issues preemptively, and they're working on adjusting the landscape plan as we speak. The site plan is included in your packet, as well as the criteria for approval. I'm happy to go over them if needed. However, I'm open to questions from the commission. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, staff. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the commission on this daycare center issue? Seeing none, let's go right on to the commissioners. Any comments, gentlemen? No ladies tonight. It looks like they've really, every item that we objected to and had thought could and should be approved at last meeting. I really think you've cleaned everything up.
Thank you.
If there are no comments, Chair would accept a motion to approve under old business PZC 0102026 a request, this request for the major site plan approval for the daycare center in the C1 commercial zoning district to include the staff report recommendations in our approval.
So moved.
We have motion Charleston,
Second Simpson.
second Simpson.
Roll call. Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael?
Yes. Okay, sir. So staff will notify you when you'll be scheduled to go before the village
Understood.
board.
Thank you very much.
Certainly. Good evening. And before we get into into the new business, I would like to just tell everyone present here that, just as a reminder, that we have 3 new cases that we have to go through on our agenda this evening before we'll be considering these various downtown rezoning requests that are on the agenda and that I assume many of you are here for. So we've been directed that the public hearings for these downtown rezonings will not begin until at least 7:30 tonight. It appears there's a good chance we could finish these first 3 prior to that. If that is the case, then we will take a recess until 7:30. And then if we do that, we'll have to swear in people and start things all over again. Okay, under new business. First is public hearing PZC 0182026, a request from the Community School District 201 for the property at 909 Oakwood Drive in Westmont for a special use permit for an electronic message board sign for the Westmont High School in the R3 single unit residential district. Good evening.
Yes, hello, how are you? My name is Joe Smith. I'm the Director of Facilities for the school district. Previously, I did the special use permit for the junior high sign.
Yeah.
This is almost identical to the same process. This sign is actually smaller than the current sign that's at the high school. This one just includes the digital display, similar to the junior high. It's the exact same board, same materials, same contractor. The sign does have the ability to automatically dim based on, it has a photocell installed on it, so it meets the foot candle requirements. It also is timeable, so it can turn off at night. We could program it to turn off at 10:30. Utilities that would be involved are there currently for the existing signs. Nothing has to change with that. The graphics that are shown on the sign are video. They don't move like it would not be a distraction. Again, it's the same exact protocols that we're doing for the junior high.
Okay. Staff comments. Adam.
Thank you, Chair. So the school district is requesting a special use permit for a ground sign with an electronic message board for the Westmont High School. The property is zoned R3 single unit residential district where public and institutional uses, they can have an electronic message board sign after special use permit approval. Again, as the petitioner explained, the junior high school across the street went through the same process 5 years ago for their sign. The comprehensive plan, it designates the future land use of this property as public/semi-public, which through this designation, the plan wishes to see these parcels remain as a public use, such as the school. And these types of signs, they are commonly found at institutional properties throughout the village. They can be seen at the public library, of course, the junior high school, and then the South Fire Station on South Cass. The school district, they intend to install this sign to more efficiently relay messages and important information to the community much more efficiently than the existing static message board sign. The new sign, it'll use the existing sign's support structure, allowing the petitioner to maintain the existing 12-foot street setback where 15 feet is required. Other than that, the sign meets all bulk and setback regulations for public and institutional signage. Regardless of the zoning district, all electronic message boards must comply with the display regulations that were listed in the staff report. They largely are existing to minimize impacts on adjacent properties and right-of-way users. So that way it's not distracting, and at night it's not, glaring into other properties. The plans prepared by the petitioner's contractor sign outlet state that they will comply with these regulations. Further evidence of compliance, including the required ground sign landscaping buffer, that'll be reviewed at the time of building permit, not at tonight with the special use. As the petitioner indicated, the sign can be dimmable and that it can be turned off at 10:30 p.m. However, there is not a formal requirement in the zoning ordinance to do so. The requested special use permit for a ground sign with an electronic message board complies with the requirements of the zoning ordinance, the recommendations of the comp plan, and is subject to the standards of special use permit approval. The findings of fact have been provided. I'm happy to go over them if there are questions. If not, that's all for staff.
Excellent, thank you. Commissioners,
Or we should take public comment before moving on.
I apologize. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this issue? Good. Now, Commissioners, who wants to weigh in?
Go Sentinels.
Okay, I have one question.
Sure.
Does the junior high sign currently shut off at 10:30 at night?
To be honest with you, I would have to talk to the junior high ladies that program it. It does have the ability to turn off. If it's not, you can't do that.
Tell us about the programming. Is it just like setting an alarm clock or?
No, so the programming is all web-based. It goes through like the Amazon cellular network to the sign, so it's all wireless. They're able to program each individual slide with existing graphics, different things that they can add. Lewis can help explain some of that. But again, like the brightness is all controlled by the photocell on the sign.
So you would program this. I know my concern is that if somebody forgets, he's on vacation and I didn't hit the switch, or I didn't push the click it, and we got a bright sign all night long. Can that happen?
No. So you can actually set on the software for the screen hub to automatically dim at a certain time, even if somebody's not there to do it. So you can tell it to do all of that stuff. You can tell it to switch over to the next slide at a certain time.
And that would be standard procedure. It wouldn't be something that the neighbors would have to ask for.
No.
No. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. This seems too easy. Okay. Under PZC 018-2026, this requestment from School District 201 for a special use permit for an electronic message board for the high school. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion Donahue.
Motion Donahue.
Second Thomas.
Second Thomas. Further discussion, questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael?
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, gentlemen. Our next new item in the public hearing, PZC 019-2026, a request from the Maj House Limited Liability Company, doing business as the Maj House as the petitioner, and Richmond Station LLC, the owner, for the property at 38 South Cass Avenue. This request is for a special use permit to operate an indoor other participant entertainment business that is a mahjong studio in the B1 Downtown Edge District. Good evening.
Hi everyone, thank you for your time and for meeting with me today. My name is Melissa Mueller and I'm here to request approval for a special use permit for a new business, the Maj House, located at 38 South Cass Ave in Richmond Station. Mahjong is seeing a rise in popularity across the U.S. It offers women a chance to gather, socialize, strategize, and learn a game with rich history. People are learning Mahjong to connect outside of phones, have fun, make friends, and challenge their brains. It is often praised for its mental benefits because it demands concentration, memory, and analytical thinking. Searches for Mahjong clubs and classes are up over 4,000% as players say the game sharpens the mind and builds community. With that being said, spaces for players to get together are very limited, with just a few mahjong parlors in the Chicagoland area. I wanted to create an environment specific to mahjong playing for players of all levels. Maj House will be a fun, relaxing space offering beginner classes, open plays, leagues, and private events. Every single class, open play, or league would be reservation-based, and booking your play of choice will all be done through my website. I will have 0 to 2 offerings per day, and each one runs within a 2-hour time frame. None of my offerings interfere with rush hour or traditionally busier times, with most of my classes or open plays taking place after the morning rush. The Maj House will adhere to any and all special use standards. Mahjong is not a loud or rambunctious game, so there would never be a noise concern. As stated earlier, Mahjong is a desirable, in-demand game, and members of the community would love to attend related events. Maj House would not be detrimental to anyone's health nor pose any negative impacts on the development and improvement of surrounding property. It would comply with all applicable regulations of the special use permit and special use standards. When it comes to parking, I walked around one morning last week and counted over 100 empty parking spaces within a 1 to 3 block radius of 38 South Cass. These open spaces were between Richmond Station private parking spaces, Lincoln Street, Quincy Street west and east of Cass, and Richmond Street east of Cass. Overall, there was ample street parking. I currently reside in Downers Grove, and through children, social events, and being involved in the community, I have met many women who have expressed an interest in a local mahjong parlor. Westmont serves as a perfect central location for not only Westmont residents, but surrounding towns to conveniently get to. The Maj House will bring a lot of foot traffic and visibility to restaurants, shops, and businesses. My goal is to partner with local coffee shops and restaurants as much as possible. At the end of the day, I want the Maj House to be more than just a business. My goal is to give back to the community through PTA, PTO events, school fundraising, and other charitable donations. Mahjong offers a fun, social, screen-free environment that encourages connection and community. I hope you'll support bringing the Maj House to downtown Westmont as a unique gathering place for residents and visitors alike.
Thank you. Staff.
Thank you, Chair. So just to clarify before jumping into the staff report, this is a special use permit request for a new Mahjong studio at a new location, not to be confused with the Mahjong studio that was reviewed at the last regular meeting. So this petitioner is requesting to operate the Maj House at 38 South Cass Avenue. That is one of the commercial units within the Richmond Station development. The zoning ordinance best classifies this business as an indoor other participant entertainment. It is a broad use category. It includes businesses such as bowling alleys, arcades, trampoline parks, and the like, and of course Mahjong studios as well. Special use permit approval is required in the B1 district to evaluate business activities, hours of operation, traffic, and parking to ensure that the proposed use will not have adverse impacts on the surrounding area. As the petitioner explained, the Maj House intends to host open plays, beginners classes, and the occasional private event in the roughly 1,700 square foot unit. They plan to be the only employee and can accommodate up to 40 players across their 10 tables. But as stated in the cover letter and application materials, typically the sessions will be between 8 to 16 players. And all players will have to register ahead of time to participate in the 2-hour sessions. The classes will be mostly held during the weekday, with occasional classes and leagues on Sunday or Tuesday nights. As the petitioner explained, Mahjong is played in a strategic, structured, and quiet manner, which should not produce negative impacts, especially regarding noise on surrounding neighbors, both in the property and in the community nearby. The comprehensive plan, it identifies the future land use of this property as downtown mixed use. This is a designation intended to provide for an appropriate variety of land uses and an active pedestrian node. Furthermore, the property is located within the downtown sub-area civic core. Here, the businesses should be public offices, services, and open space, as well as secondary downtown retail and restaurant activity. The zoning ordinance, it does exempt existing properties in the B1 district from having to provide off-street parking. A Richmond Station was developed before this was a requirement, so there is a private off-street parking lot that has about 20 parking spaces. Again, with having about 12 to 16 participants in a space at a time, petitioner doesn't anticipate spilling out of the private parking lot, but there are spaces on Cass Avenue directly in front of Richmond Station and further south down the street. The special use permit request for an indoor other participant entertainment business is compliant with requirements of the zoning ordinance, the recommendations of the comprehensive plan, and is subject to standards of special use permit approval. Again, the findings of fact have been provided, and I'm happy to go over them. If not, we can go to public comment.
Well, I think Ms. Mueller pretty much covered the findings of fact there in her comments, so let's go to public comment. Anyone from the public like to address this? Please come to the podium.
Come on up.
Make sure she says her name.
Yes.
I think it's a
And
great
your
idea.
name? Your name?
Margaret Burke. I think it's a great idea. I think you should do it.
All right.
Good. There's nothing like that around.
Thank you. Okay, now, commissioners' comments, questions? I think you're mentioning that it would be helpful to be near a coffee shop.
No, yeah, I actually
You're going to be
just
right
met-
next
I-
door to one.
I
so-
met the owner last week, and we were chatting and
Yeah, I
talking
think
about
they're
how we
just
could work
opening,
together. Yeah, the
this week.
space is beautiful.
Yeah.
They did a great job in there, yeah.
Well, good. I've never seen you guys so quiet before on any issue, but if there isn't any more discussion, the chair would entertain a motion to approve under PZC 019-2026, a special use permit to operate this Mahjong studio in B1 Downtown Edge District.
So moved.
Second, oh. Tom, you were first, right? Yeah, motion's okay.
Okay, motion has been made and approved and seconded. Further
Okay.
discussion? Seeing none.
Commissioner
roll call,
Donahue?
please.
Yes.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael?
Yes. Well, congratulations, and staff will contact you when you reschedule your
Thank you so much.
village
Thank
board.
you.
Good evening. Next item of new business is public hearing case number 020-2026, a request from Mr. Richard Strohmeyer Jr. for the property at 29 North Washington in Westmont for the following: a zoning ordinance variance to the maximum lot coverage in the R3 single-unit residential district for 2 patios. Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for your time. I am here on behalf of our client, Richard Strohmeyer, regarding 29 North Washington. We are requesting...
And your name?
My name is Tristan. I'm the construction manager for CB Conlon Landscapes. We'll be in charge of installing the
Thank you.
project. We are requesting an addition variance for approximately 7% additional lot coverage to his existing 35, proposing to move to a new 42% lot coverage for the installation of 567 additional square feet of patio. Client recently moved into the home. The house was built to the near absolute limit of property coverage at 34.93%. He does not have the ability to have any outside usable space. Yard is currently mulch around doors in the back with just a grass remaining area. All the work is looking to be installed in permeable. I know the city does not count for permeable work, but we're attempting our best to consolidate all of our water and manage all of our runoff without changing any of the stormwater drainage on the property. Work per our drawing is to be installed all permeable on, I believe, 12 inches of permeable 3/4 inch aggregate and chip. They'll be all permeable rated bricks in goal of containing the whole water. We will also be installing a structure above the existing or proposed patio surface, open louvered pergola. That's it.
And so that open pergola, tell us about that. That's different from a roof.
Correct. It is not a roof structure. It's an open slat pergola.
All right. Anything else? Okay, I think
got.
that's clear. Staff comments?
Thank you, Chair. So this property is located at 29 North Washington Street. It is in the first block of North Washington, just across the tracks here. The property itself is 9,000 square feet in area. It's a common lot size, 60 foot by 150 foot lot, which is common for that area of the downtown. The request tonight from the petitioner and the property owner is in regards to total lot coverage on the property. We've had a few of these, so I won't go too much in depth on exactly the specifics, rather than giving an overview of the project itself and their request. The property is zoned R3 single unit residential district. The maximum permitted lot coverage in that district is 35%. In some cases, properties in the R3 district may go up to 40% if the property doesn't have known drainage issues and is not located in a low depressional subbasin area. In this particular location, there is a subbasin located on North Washington Street that has a low depressional area, so they would not be permitted to go to 40% with that exemption or that authorization from the village engineer. In addition to their request being up to 42%, it's 41.8% rounded up to 42. We always round up in these cases in case of error. The 42% is above that 40% threshold regardless. The property itself was improved with a new residential home on it in 2022, 2023, around that time. The permit was approved in 2022, and the house began construction, I think, in 2023, and received occupancy around that time as well. The builder, which is not the current homeowner, the builder at the time built the property up to that maximum, or right to that maximum at 34.93%. The builder at the time was notified that from staff that amount would cap them moving forward on adding any additional structures on the property that would result in increased lot coverage. But the village cannot stop the builder from constructing a home at the maximum. Since then, the property owner has moved into the property, as we see with most properties, they want an outdoor space. And to have them have the ability to have the outdoor space, they do have to request a variance. The variance is for 620 square feet, or 7% increase of their total lot coverage from their existing lot coverage on the property. The improvements that included in lot coverage include anything that is permanent and impervious surface on the ground, which is hardscape on the ground, which includes the permeable pavers patio, as well as the stepper stones connecting the two patios. It does not include the pergola, although the pergola is already over what is proposed to be the outdoor patio. The village engineer and engineering staff did review the documents and the permeable pavers. They provided a comment sheet indicating that they have no objection to the requested variance from a stormwater perspective due to the permeable pavers being proposed. However, they did indicate that if approved, the provided or the shown pergola should not be roofed and should remain open to allow for stormwater to percolate through to the pervious pavers. The engineer also recommended that at the time permitting, the mechanical equipment is flood-proofed. Anything related to that outdoor grill area that might be proposed in the future should be flood-proofed to prevent any issues after that point. The petitioner provided responses to the variance standards. The findings of fact are provided to the commission as well. I'm happy to go through them, but I'm open to questions from the commission and for the public to speak on the item.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the public who would like to come forward and address the commission on this? Seeing none, we'll go to the commissioners. Commissioner Thomas, go ahead.
Does the petitioner agree with the engineers, the village engineer, about pergolas and the water?
Correct. So the pergola will be fixed open, will not be a closed roof, so all the water will be designed to percolate through the pergola into our base and be self-contained within our base, so that we're not producing stormwater runoff from either it or the patio below it.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
John?
Do we have to amend it to make sure that it's only allowed for permeable pavers? So that in the future, if it gets changed, we're not, I want to make sure we're doing it the right way. So based on everything you said, flood-proof, permeable pavers, open slate, I don't have an objection to it. If they're good with it, I'm good with it. But if they change that, I don't want them to be able to roof it and then change permeable pavers. And
For staff to have the ability to require that, it would have to be an amended motion to include those requirements. And then the village board ultimately would have final approval on those.
And so oftentimes when the petitioner presents a plan that has permeable pavers, a pergola that's open, you're basing your approval on that submission. Just like if someone says, I want to build a new building, and you're approving that based on their submissions. You don't have to specify that your approval's based on that. Yeah, but I do believe that since it's in the staff report and they did submit that this will be permeable pavers and will not have a covered roof, that can be included in the ordinance without having to make a separate motion to require that.
Perfect.
There are actually two patios here, right?
Correct.
And the total square footage, including the little pathway, is 620. What are the individual square footages of the two patios?
So the individual for the larger patio that you can see here in this area, individually that patio is counted as 423 square foot.
Okay.
The smaller patio itself is going to be counted as 144 square foot.
Gotcha. And so, if you were just asking for the larger patio, then you would be a hair under 40% lot coverage. Is my math approximately right there?
I would say approximately, but I'm not great at quick math off the top of my head. Be right around there.
Right. The reason for the ask for both patios is that there is exterior leading doors, both for the garage for the smaller patio, so it's to serve as a landing that communicates directly through the garage, and then we have the main exit on the larger patio.
Yeah, understood. It lends itself to discussion whether or not you could just simply run the walkway to the garage as opposed to having an entire patio behind the garage, right? It would be my preference to see the lot coverage stay under 40%, and I realize that would mean that the second patio behind the garage might not get done, but that certainly would be my preference.
So I'm seeing this correctly where the patio would be behind the garage and then there'd be like a little 90-degree turn to the main patio behind the home.
Correct, but it would be steppers individually set directly onto soil, not a excavated and built and based walkway or stepper path back to the patio.
Got it.
The individual stepping stones returning from one to the other.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Well, I think Commissioner Charleston has a point there, that if the only reason you're doing the smaller patio behind the garage is because there's a door there, that a walkway from the other patio would seem to be a reasonable connection to that door without going over 40%. One of the things that this commission has to deal with, every time we say, well, okay, in this particular case, the homeowner has a valid reason for going beyond whatever number, then the next month and the month after that, we have more and more people coming in here wanting to go above the numbers. So that's why I think this is a legitimate thing to discuss, doing one patio with a walkway.
My quick math says that 5% of 9,000, right? It's 450 square feet.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned it was the larger patio was 423.
Correct.
And then whatever the walkway adds to that.
Just the one patio looks like 3569, and the cutoff would be 3600 if we're going 40%. So, just the math. 30 square feet to make the walkway.
And yeah, I mean, from where I sit, like, I don't want to quibble over the last couple square feet, right? But a patio different than a walkway kind of a thing. So I get the patio off the back slider. I totally get that. But the second patio is just seems like a little bit extra on the ask.
All right,
So,
yeah, if we could ask for at least for the preliminary patio, I think we could move forward with that. And I mean,
I think the board would, or the commission wouldn't have any problem at all recommending approval of the main patio with a walkway. If the owner is willing, we could. Do I see a comment on your face? Craig,
So, John, would this be the amendment to allow 40% contingent on all the same factors? This
Yeah,
would be the
I think
amendment.
then you'd amend the motion to approve conditioned on the removal of the patio and is a replacement with the walkway.
Yeah, not to exceed 40% of the lot coverage area.
40%, yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion, gentlemen? So, under PZC 020206, this request for the zoning ordinance variance for the maximum lot coverage for 2 patios. Do I have a motion to approve with amendment to single patio and a walkway not to exceed approximately 40%?
Yeah, you can do it as one motion, I guess. Approve the agenda item as written with the amendment as stated by the chairman.
All right.
Motion Simpson?
Second O'Donoghue. Further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson? Absent, sorry. Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael?
Yes. Now, staff, if you were to go, if you gentlemen would go before the village board with, you could still go with the same request and our recommendation you've got, but it doesn't mean that maybe the village board would accept 2 patios. But our recommendation is the single patio with the walkway.
And we'll be in contact after the meeting.
sounds good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of our first 3 items of new business. Now, the next 3 items will open together. Items PZC 14 and 15 and 16. These are all the village's request for rezoning in the downtown areas. So, as I mentioned earlier, we can begin no earlier than 7:30. So we will take a 45-minute break and recommence at 7:30.
And the reason for that is the chairman wanted to make sure, and staff wanted to make sure, that people weren't sitting through a potentially long meeting to get through these first 4 items, and the commission got through them quicker than anticipated, but we wanted to make sure everyone was here at the right time, so that's why the 7:30 start time was listed.
When we reconvene, we will have to swear in everybody once again and do roll call.
Okay.
And then we would need a motion to take a recess until 7:30.
All right. Chair would entertain a motion to recess until 7:30.
Charleston? Yeah.
Second?
Motion by
Charleston,
Charleston, second by
Donahue.
Donahue.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
6:45.
At 6:45, we'll recommence at 7:30. Calling this meeting back to order. You have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Simpson, here. Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
Commissioner Donahue.
Here.
Commissioner Charleston.
Here.
Chairperson Carmichael.
Here. We have a quorum. Okay, I have to review public hearing procedures again. Standard procedure is the petitioner, which in this case is the Village of Westmont, will present their petition. There are also staff additional comments after that, and then the public will get a chance to weigh in on these issues. Then the commissioners will discuss and vote on these numerous issues one at a time. So I'll first open the public hearings on cases 014, 015, and 016 concurrently. Staff will make a presentation about all three of these rezoning agenda items, including all subparts. Once the public comment period is opened, the public will then be free to comment on any and all of these three rezoning requests. Okay, the request items are, and there are 10 of them here.
Chair, before we begin, we should swear in the public.
You're right, okay. Anyone who intends to testify before this commission, please stand, raise your right hand. And swear that any and all testimony you give tonight will be the complete truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Quick question. Can you specifically point out so we can find it, the items that you are selecting and follow along with that, please? Like the ones you did.
He will be reading them one by one.
I will be reading each and every one, but I'm not sure we have the same document that we're...
Well, are you going to on the screen? Or on the screen like you did over there?
We have the presentation ready from the screen once you read all the items.
Okay. They'll be on the screen once the items are read. Thank you. Okay. The requests from the Village of Westmont are for the following 10 items. First, a zoning map amendment to rezone the properties from the B1 Downtown Edge District to the B1A Downtown Core District, as listed on the agenda. Second, a zoning map amendment to rezone 20 through 26 East Quincy Street from the N1 Limited Manufacturing District to the B1A Downtown Core District. Third is a comprehensive plan map amendment to change the future land use designation of 20 through 26 East Quincy from single-family attached residential to downtown mixed use. Next is a zoning map amendment to rezone the split-zoned property at 139 North Cass Avenue from the B1 Downtown Edge District and the R3 Single Unit Residential District to the B1A Downtown Core District. Next, a comprehensive plan map amendment to change the future land use designation of 139 North Cass from single-family detached residential to downtown mixed use. Then zoning map amendment to rezone the split-zoned property at 18 West Quincy from being partially unzoned and from the R5 General Residential District to the B1A Downtown Core District. Next, zoning map amendment to rezone the properties from the R5 General Residential District to the B1 Downtown Edge District, as listed on the agenda. Next, zoning map amendment to rezone the properties from the R5 General Residential District to the R7 Downtown Residential District, as listed on the agenda. Next, a comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation of the properties from single-family detached residential to single-family attached residential as listed on the agenda. And finally, comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation of 205 East Burlington Avenue from public/semi-public to single-family attached residential. Staff, you prepared to present?
I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself first and welcome everyone here. My name is Joe Hennerfine. I'm the Community Development Director with the Village of Westmont. I've worked here twice, starting in 2014. So what you're going to hear a lot tonight is us referencing a 2013 comprehensive plan. That was the last comprehensive plan that the village did, and it is one of the guiding documents that we still abide by. So you're going to hear staff speaking to basically we are executing some pieces of that plan, albeit a little later than we wanted. And you know, the Amazon era hit us just before COVID hit us. So we are still trying to move forward with some of those goals there. Staff has worked very diligently to try to get the notice out. I believe we sent out close to 700 letters to directly affected persons and properties. There are 155 properties that are considered for rezoning. And hopefully at the end of this discussion, everyone is aware of what that means and what the implications of that are. The Planning and Zoning Commission is a recommending body. So staff is presenting this tonight to the Planning and Zoning Commission. If they make a recommendation tonight, then it will move on to the board. If we're still having conversations and can't get through the night, then we'll continue this case for another date, which if we get to that point, we'll tell everyone what that is. So I want to thank everyone for being here. Usually this room sits pretty empty. So we are very happy when we actually see some turnout. So thank you for doing your civic duty, and hopefully some of our terminology, we don't confuse it too much and we try to explain it as we go along. So I'll turn it over to staff.
Thank you. My name's Scott Williams. I'm the senior planner for the village. I'll be going through a presentation here to try to give you more information from the public view, but also inform our commissioners as they get to the requests that are being heard tonight. After I'm done presenting, there'll be a chance for the public to speak on all the items on the that the chair listed out, and we'll talk about how we'll go about that process when we get to it. So first, we realized that there's been some miscommunication online regarding rezonings. We want to make sure that everybody in the room understands what a rezoning is. We call them map amendments because it's an amendment to our zoning map that the village adopts once a year. So in this slide we have, I'm just going to read it off and just explain it a bit. So a rezoning is the process of changing a property's official land use designation, which determines what can legally be built or operated on the property. It is not a taking of the property, it does not involve eminent domain, and does not approve any specific development. So tonight's items are strictly regarding the rezoning requests and several comprehensive map land use amendments that are proposed along with these rezoning requests. And we'll get into some more details on what that means. If you don't know what land use designation is and uses in general, zoning districts generally determine what can be done on the property and where structures can go and what can be built on it. The zoning district will give a list of uses that are either permitted, a special use which requires approval by the village board, or prohibited. Bulk standards, which are in the zoning ordinance, determine what can be built on the property and how it can be built and where it can be built. So that includes height, setbacks from streets, and in this case for the downtown zoning districts, we have specific guidelines related to building materials to narrow the scope on what the village wants to see in those downtown specific zoning districts. What is not discussed tonight are specific projects. So many projects that come before the commission will have an opportunity for the petitioner who's developing a property to give a presentation and make requests to the commission and ultimately the village board. And at that time is when staff works with the petitioner to determine impacts on specific proposals. Usually there is a process for the public to speak when new development happens through our major site plan approval and special use processes. But tonight we're not discussing any specific developments that may come to the village board or planning and zoning commission at a later date. This is strictly related to the land use designation of those properties. So my director mentioned the comprehensive plan. This slide gives just a timeline of events since we've adopted the comprehensive plan as it relates to the zoning and planning process that staff works on day to day, and the village has input, or village residents have input on when plans are developed. So the first one here that's shown is the comprehensive plan, which was updated in 2013. This document helps guide the village's planning process. It provides basically a 10 to 20 year timeline on goals for the village. This comprehensive plan had public input when it was adopted, extensive public input when it was adopted, and we use it as a guiding document when developers either call the village and ask what they can do on a property, or if a homeowner needs to know what could happen on their property, they can look at what is considered the guiding document, the comprehensive plan, which also has a proposed land use map that the village adopted. The land use map is different than the zoning ordinance. Land use map is the goal of the village for certain properties and what they would see develop on the site and what the village would be willing to accept requests for. Additionally, the other item that's timeline is from 2015. One of the goals for the comprehensive plan was to develop commercial area design guidelines. The commercial area design guidelines were adopted in 2015, and they have specific guidelines for materials and designations for the downtown area listed in it. That is why it's on this screen. It also has design guidelines for Ogden and 63rd Street. Not really a discussion for tonight. In 2025, just last year, we did an extensive comprehensive zoning ordinance amendment to the entire zoning ordinance that the village abides by. This was a very long process. We had not updated the zoning ordinance comprehensively since the 1970s. So it was very out of date with current terminology and general development standards. We sat in this room for a few meetings to discuss it with the Planning and Zoning Commission. It was recommended for approval and ultimately approved in August of 2025. When we sat down with our consultant regarding the zoning ordinance update, we had several recommendations from them to move forward with some of the specific zoning districts that are being proposed tonight. So it's an extension of not just the comprehensive plan, but also our zoning ordinance text amendments, where we created some districts. And then the last thing on this slide is that what we're talking about tonight, which is the downtown rezoning public hearing items. And as I said, there will be an opportunity for the public to speak on this. So on this slide, we have the 2026 downtown Westmont zoning map. So it's a portion of the zoning map that is already adopted. This was adopted earlier in the year. Every year, the village is required to adopt a zoning ordinance per state law. And this was the one that was adopted. You'll see that right now the downtown zoning or downtown area is split up into 2 to 3 zoning districts as shown here. This first one that's shown is the B1 downtown edge, which is this pinkish, darkish salmon color, which goes from, I believe it's, if I can read clearly, Dallas Street all the way up to Naperville. And it spreads a little bit on Quincy and Burlington as well. And then the R5 zoning district, which is that dark orange color, which is general residency district. So in the current code, the B1 as shown here, can allow up to 3 stories in height for buildings. It can allow for mixed-use buildings or apartments. Those are both permitted in that zoning district right now. In the R5 district, the general residency is very encompassing of a lot of residential uses, going from single-family homes all the way to multifamily or multi-unit, which is what we call it now, multi-unit complexes. It also allows for or attached housing and then other variations of residential uses, such as group homes. So that's the current zoning. You'll notice that the B1A, the downtown core, and R7, downtown residential, which are both new districts, are not shown on this map. And that is what we're discussing tonight, is rezoning for those 2 districts to be encompassing on the updated zoning map. I like to explain the process of how we arrive at a narrowed scope for the downtown area. It is not uncommon practice between municipalities to have separate zoning districts contained in a smaller area of their downtown. The reason being is to allow for specific development to occur in those areas. Those specific areas will have different standards. So usually you have a downtown core, which has higher intensity uses and higher density, as well as higher bulk standards, such as a 5-story building could be built there. Well, that would be mixed use or something like that. As you come out from the downtown core, you'd have a downtown edge, is what we're doing. Downtown edge would have more transitional building types at a smaller scale as you come out from those denser areas in the downtown. And then you'd come into a downtown residential area that provides opportunities for different housing types, and then a single-family home. Generally, a single-family home zoning district. Generally, that's how a lot of the suburbs in the Chicagoland area develop over time, naturally. But providing specific regulations provides developers some idea of what can be built, and it provides residents who might be buying a home in that area what could be built next door in the future. So the example I'm showing here is downtown Lombard. This is split up into 3 different zoning districts, very similar to what I just mentioned. They have the B5, which is their central business district. They have the B5A, which is the downtown perimeter zoning district. And then they have R6, which is the central residential district. Downers Grove has a very similar mechanism as well. They have 3 specific downtown zoning districts. They have the DB, the downtown business district, DC, downtown core, and then they have the downtown transition. Theirs follows a very similar pattern in development along the train tracks as Westmont. Additionally, Glen Ellen also has a similar design to their downtown. They're split up into 3 as well. The core, perimeter, and then multifamily along their edges before you hit the single-family homes. Lyle also has this, as it's a very similar makeup to Westmont's downtown, very linear in nature. They're split up into 2 separate zoning districts in their downtown, but they have a much smaller downtown. I mentioned at the start we have guiding maps and documents we use. I'm going to get into some specifics on what those maps are in the next couple of slides here. And then I'm going to go into detail on the specific zoning districts and what is and isn't allowed in those zoning districts that we're proposing for the rezonings tonight. So this first one is the proposed land use plan for the downtown area. This is in the 2013 comprehensive plan. This is our guiding document that the village uses when looking at land use types. This is separate from the zoning district map that we adopt. This is something that we look towards in the future of what the village would expect to develop on these sites. Sometimes the zoning districts do not match what is shown on the land use plan map because it is a guiding document. So in this specific example, there's a downtown mixed use area shown from Dallas to Norfolk in that orange color. And then up north of that, there is the corridor commercial, which is red, going to Naperville. And then additionally, we have on the Quincy Station and Burlington side, we have it shown as single-family attached residential, which is different than single-family homes. And that guides our future development on what the village would look or would think would develop there. In addition to the land use plan map, we have a land use framework or sub-area map in the comprehensive plan that goes in a bit more detail, specifically in the downtown area. In this one, you can see that the downtown's broken up into a few different land use framework items. The first one, again, is the mixed-use core, which is shown, in this case, on the north end of the tracks, up to Norfolk. And on the south end, they labeled it as civic core at the time, because we had a lot of civic buildings in that area, including Village Hall and Westmont Center. And in the orange area of Burlington West, and then we have Burlington East, which is split up into some hybrid industrial manufacturing areas that we have along the tracks that have been there for decades, and then Public Works. This is another map from the comprehensive plan, which is the residential areas map. As you can see, this also mirrors the land use map. I won't reiterate some of the points I already made. The major takeaway from this is that it shows the downtown mixed use area, and then it also has a single family attached residential area along the tracks here. Lastly, the map shown on screen here is from the 2015 design guidelines. The design guidelines split up the downtown into two areas based on the designs and architecture of the downtown. One is the downtown core that is unique and historic in character, and it has some older buildings, but it also has a lot of opportunity sites, as noted in the comprehensive plan, where if new construction were to happen on those sites, we would want those to be mixed use per our comprehensive plan. And then in the downtown edge, you have, as I mentioned earlier, an extension of the downtown that might have smaller buildings, but also provide mixed use development or apartments outright. So getting into now the specifics on what the requests are tonight. This is the downtown rezoning map. This has been available on the village's website for about a month now for review from the public. If you've seen our signs, there's a QR code on it that sent you to this specific map and a web page explaining the maps. As you can see here, we are proposing to have 3 separate zoning districts encompass the downtown. And it includes the B1A, which is the downtown core, which is from Richmond Street up to Norfolk, going north and south. And then portions of Quincy, East Quincy, and West Quincy, as well as portions of Burlington on the west side. And then when you move further to the to the west, you'll see we have a few properties that are proposed to be rezoned to B1 downtown edge. I will also mention that north of Norfolk are already zoned B1 downtown edge. So there's properties not shown on this specific map, but as you go north on Norfolk along Cass Avenue towards Neat Kitchen and the gas station on the corner and Mrs. T's, those are already zoned downtown edge B1. And then the third district would be the R7 district, which is the downtown residential. The downtown residential includes all the properties that are currently zoned R5, or most of the properties that are zoned R5 right now, and a single property that is zoned, all the properties that are zoned R5 are along Quincy and Burlington, and includes some comprehensive plan amendments that are needed for the properties on East Burlington, which are carried with these rezoning requests. So the downtown core, the B1A, This district is intended to maintain and enhance a vibrant Main Street storefront development pattern within the central business district. This is where you would want to see the most activity in your downtown, where you'd have outdoor dining, you'd have a lot more activity in the windows, retail, and restaurants usually take up those spaces in the downtown core. And then normally you'd have a mixed-use building, and the upper floors would be residential or somewhat of a commercial-esque use. So the example we use normally is the one building in our downtown that is at the corner at Quincy Station. That is a mixed-use building that has a first floor commercial use, and then the upper floors are for residential. In the downtown edge, the B1 district, it's intended to be more flexible, allowing a wider mix of supporting uses in the downtown area while still maintaining a high level of walkability. Again, this is where you'd see smaller buildings in the downtown edge as you come out from that core that can have more service uses, more general uses, and apartments and multi-unit developments as standalone. If you go north on Cass Avenue, historically that's how the village has developed in the downtown. You'll see a mix of those building types or typologies, including apartments and commercial buildings going from 1 to 3 stories. The third one here is the downtown residential. The R7 district, which is primarily intended to accommodate residential uses in a variety of building forms, and is further intended to accommodate the transition from the downtown area into low-density residential neighborhoods bordering the downtown. As I've mentioned, not unique to Westmont, many suburbs that have train stations have a downtown area, and then it immediately transitions into single-family residential properties. To provide some to reduce the juxtaposition of bulk or taller buildings next to each other, next to single-family homes that may have a higher impact on those properties. Usually you have a transition district that slowly lowers the building heights in bulk and density before you hit the single-family homes. This slide outlines the allowable building forms and typologies. So in the downtown core, the zoning ordinance allows and permits storefront buildings only. So storefront buildings, and I'll get into this a bit in some of my other slides after this. Storefront buildings are those mixed-use buildings where you have commercial on the first floor and usually residential above. In the downtown edge, the B1, you have storefront buildings and general buildings, both are permitted. In the downtown residential, you have general buildings, row buildings. Oh, sorry, that I think is not correct. Apologies. The downtown residential allows for, oh no, that is correct, sorry. General building, row building, and allows for existing single unit houses, your detached single family homes, to be permitted as they are currently. Any new single-family home would require special use, and they would have to come to the commission for approval. But existing homes can remain, and you can allow for additions as you've been allowed to throughout the years. There's no additional requirements for improvements to the property. Fencing, patios, additional structures would still be permitted.
What's allowed there?
Storefront buildings are allowed in the downtown core, the B1A district, and downtown edge, B1 district. The downtown core allows up to 5 stories in height as permitted. That doesn't mean a developer can't come in and ask for more. They would just have to go through a variance process if they wanted anything higher than that. The village has historically been comfortable with up to 5 stories as they've approved projects that have been 5 stories in the past. The downtown edge, the B1, would only allow up to 3 stories in height, and that is currently what is allowed in the B1 district properties that are currently Zone B1 on Cass Avenue. That has historically been the limit, was up to 3 stories prior to the zoning ordinance update. As mentioned, storefront buildings usually have a ground story that's commercial, and in the zoning ordinance, we have higher design standards in materials that must be used for these type of buildings. They are somewhat of the entrance into the village from the train station, and we do expect that these buildings have the highest quality material. We have a list of design guidelines within the zoning ordinance that would require that. And then the first floor would be an activation space of some kind with commercial, as I've mentioned, and larger windows to show activation in the downtown and create a walkable environment where people want to be outside eating and have the activity space. So you have activities within the downtown. General buildings are your normal apartment or commercial building that might just have a single use, or it could be mixed use. So the upper floors could be for residential, while the first floor remains could remain commercial. But it could also just mean all apartments. It could also mean all commercial within those buildings. This is currently what the B1 allows and has historically allowed as a permitted use. And again, those buildings would be up to 3 stories in height, permitted. They would have to, any developer that would want a new or higher height than that would have to come in and make a request. This building type would also be allowed in the downtown residential as R7 up to 3 stories, but it would only allow residential uses within those buildings. It would not allow for commercial use. Row buildings, or townhouses as people also call them, are attached housing. In our case, we call them multi-unit residential use. This is historically what you see along the train tracks when you get into a transitional residential area. You'll see this if you go towards Clarendon Hills. They have attached row homes going into their downtown. And then in Downers Grove, they also have them along their train tracks coming into the downtown. These particular building types would be allowed up to 3 stories in height, and they would have to be fully residential. R7 also, as I mentioned, allows for detached single unit homes. That's your single family homes. The list here on the left side is the bulk standards for the R5 district. So existing single family homes, detached homes, as I said, would still be allowed to operate how they've always operated. They can continue to make improvements. You can continue to have structures like a patio, fencing, any of the improvements a single family home would normally have. The zoning ordinance as written would still look at the bulk standards, your front yard setbacks, your street side setbacks, interior side setbacks, rear and max height, from the current R5 zoning district standards for existing single family homes. So there's no changes to existing single family homes within this district. Those can still continue to operate as they've always operated. They are not a nonconformity. They're still permitted by right. So the only change to the detached single unit are for new single-family homes, which require special use, and they would have to come in and get approval prior to construction of a single-family home. The reason being is that the village would view this area as a transition district from those larger apartment complexes and mixed-use buildings to the single-family homes that make up a bulk of the area between 55th and Naperville in the historic downtown north and south areas. To serve that transition, the village would review the single-family homes to see if it makes sense in that area and through the special use standards. The preferred typology in this area is row homes as permitted in that district. When we updated the zoning ordinance, we took a very long and hard look at allowable uses within the downtown areas, but specifically the B1A, the downtown core, and the B1 downtown edge. There's a host of uses listed here that we have abbreviated from our zoning ordinance that lists a lot more uses, many of which are not permitted, but these are the ones we get most common questions on as it relates to businesses moving in the downtown area. In the zoning ordinance, we updated it. We tried to consolidate uses and not be as specific regarding uses, and allow for more opportunity for businesses to operate in the downtown. But we do have specific uses that now require additional approvals if they were to move in the downtown, specifically because they might be impactful to the surrounding area. So in the B1A, the downtown core, in the yellow here, you can see those are all special uses. All those uses would require anybody who is moving in as a new use in that zoning district to come to the village board and planning and zoning to get a special use permit, and it would allow for a public hearing to happen. Those listed in green would not require that. They would be a permitted use, and those uses would just need a business registration and the general process to opening a business or commercial use. So specifically in the downtown core, you're looking at more retail and restaurant-esque uses rather than service uses. In the downtown edge, we allow for a lot more uses because a lot of those service uses and professional uses are more likely to be in the edge area because they help those other businesses operate, and they also bring people in the downtown who are coming specifically for a specific use, like an accounting firm or something like that, but then they can also go and visit restaurants and retail in the downtown core area. The commissioners all received a list of the full uses in the staff report, which is also available online, and where you can certainly discuss that in more depth if needed. These slides break down the specific zoning requests in the specific districts. So in the red here is the downtown core. It encompasses, as I've noted, the Cass Avenue and portion of Quincy and Burlington. And then the B1, the downtown edge, there's a few properties that are being proposed to be rezoned in this area. Specifically, mostly on Burlington, but one property on Quincy. As I noted previously, north of Cass, there's a host of properties that border the downtown core, north of Norfolk, that are already zoned B1 downtown edge. And then the last public hearing item was the downtown rezoning request for the R7 district. As I mentioned, most of these properties are R5 zoned. They have currently in the R5 allow for a host of residential uses, including apartments, attached housing, and single-family homes. Those uses aren't changing with this rezoning request. Those all would still be allowed. As I mentioned, this new single-family homes require special use in that area, and the other uses would be permitted. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't require any additional approvals. They would have to. Most of them would still have to come to the Planning and Zoning Commission for site plan approval of some kind before anything's built there. But the single-family homes that currently exist can continue to exist and are permitted, and we would use the current R5 zoning district standards for any permits that came in for any additional structures. This last map here is the proposed land use designation map. So at the start, I showed you the comprehensive plan land use map. Several properties, as shown here, the comprehensive plan does not designate them to what we were proposing to rezone them as. The reason that they might not be shown in the comprehensive plan as that specific land use Could be due to a host of reasons during that time. But we are proposing for, especially on East Quincy here, we're proposing amendments to our comprehensive plan to allow for single-family attached in addition to those rezonings. So normally you want your comprehensive plan land use map to match whatever the rezoning request is. And these particular properties do not match right now, and that is why those requests are carried with the rezoning requests. Many of the properties on East Quincy here are either multifamily or single-family housing. So those uses would be permitted in the proposed zoning district as well. It would make sense with the comprehensive plan use designation as well. One property is currently a non-conforming use shown here at 205 East Quincy. It is a manufacturing use. They're currently also zoned R5, and they are currently a non-conforming use, and they'd continue to operate as a non-conforming use. And they would have to operate with the non-conforming use standards that are listed in our zoning ordinance. On the south end, on East Quincy, we have Westmont Center, and then the Bales Ace Hardware property, which the village recently purchased. This property currently is zoned M1, and the comprehensive plan does not designate it to be either manufacturing or downtown mixed use for the land use. So the village is proposing that property become downtown mixed use for the comprehensive plan, and then ultimately the rezoning request would be for a downtown core designation. Additionally, the property at 139 North Cass, which is Bank of America, that particular property has a building on the parcel that is facing Cass Avenue at the corner of Cass and Norfolk. And they also have parking facilities in an older ATM area, as well as a newer ATM area that encompass the properties along, or the properties on North Linden. That particular parcel includes a few properties within it. Ultimately, the land use plan does not agree with the downtown mixed use. However, because it's under common ownership for Bank of America, we found it most appropriate that it would be zoned the same as their existing building with mixed use, or their designated land use as mixed use. The property itself is currently split zoned. So a portion of the property is zoned R3, and then a portion of the property is, I believe, zoned. I have to go back to my map to make sure I don't misspeak. A portion of the property is zoned R3 single family, and a portion of it's zoned B1 downtown edge, as you can see on the map here. Part of the zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan indicate that we shouldn't have split zone properties because it causes confusion on what can be done there. So that would ultimately fix or remedy that situation as well, which is part of these requests.
I'm sorry, I got lost on the bank, 139 Cass. Is it going to be Raymond Bank?
So there's no proposed.
The question was what?
The resident asked if the property would remain a bank at this time. Yes.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
Yes, it would remain a bank. It would just be for any potential development. It would be rezoned to B1A downtown core. No problem. That is all I have for the commissioners. We provided a very extensive staff report that lists a lot more that I didn't think into with specifics, including the whole list of uses, bulk standards for each zoning district. Happy to discuss that is with the commissioners, as well as questions from the public. I'm going to leave this map on the screens as we're discussing.
Okay. All right, thank you. And yeah, you will. So with the completion of that staff presentation, we would now like to hear comments from from those of you in the audience, and it's your opportunity to tell us your opinions and your feelings. I would request, and I would say that I'm going to restrict each individual to 3 minutes of comment so that we can get all of you to the podium. And I ask also that you please try to avoid repetitive comments such as, I agree with what the previous speaker said. We really get nothing from that. But please do feel free to use all of your 3 minutes allotted. And staff will respond to your specific questions as well.
Mr. Chairman, I would say if we get through everyone's comments within the 3-minute limit and time permitting, or whether this hearing has to be continued, be an opportunity for residents to come back up and speak for a second time. I think the chairman wants to make sure everyone gets a chance to speak at least once. That's the initial 3-minute limit.
I agree. I don't object to that. I just want to make sure that everybody here does get a chance if time permits tonight. And once we close the public comment portion, the public hearing is closed, and the commissioners will then take over, and we're going to take these items one at a time, discuss them, vote on them one at a time, and move on to the next. And I remind you that the village board has the final decision-making authority in all of these requests. Given that there are so many people, I would request that we just start with the front row, from your right, the east side of the room, move left through the front row with comments, going to the second row and full and continuous. So who in the first row? Good evening, sir. You go first. And please, when each person comes at podium, give your name.
Sure. My name is Kevin Droz. I own 3234 West Burlington, 5 North Grant. So this affects me quite a bit. I'm all for it. So I think everything we're doing for my section in the blue there is outstanding. I'm a builder. I have plans to make some pretty cool projects over there and make some real good looking buildings that I think would be a staple for Westmont, and you guys would be proud to have it in town here. And also strongly encourage pushing this forward. As a builder, I work in every town, and Westmont needs to catch up, right? There's definitely some work that needs to be done here to bring people in, develop a downtown, get something going. So I'm 100% on board. Hope it gets passed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Who's next? Okay, ma'am, please.
So, I'm Margaret Burke, I'm a resident. My concern is sounds like a lot of development I think, my house in particular has a huge flooding problem, which many houses do. And with all this building, the water has to go somewhere. And if you keep on using up all this space, where's it gonna go? I'm already in a low spot. I don't want to be, I'm already an island. My house has been described as that, so I just want to know what you're going to do for a homeowner. I know you do a lot of things for a business, but I don't know about a homeowner.
Do you have a staff response?
I will just mention that your concerns are well received. We know that not just Westmont, but DuPage County as a whole is a wetter area.
Right.
And a lot of other areas in Illinois. Specific developments as they come and approach the village, as a staff, we sit with them to determine what would be required based on the impacts of each development. Mm-hmm. So it's on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
That doesn't mean that the village doesn't also take the opportunity to alleviate pressure through public improvements and capital improvements. Mm-hmm. But on a case-by-case basis, as developments proposed, There are standards, not just with the village, but the county, for stormwater regulations that must be kept on site, on the property, and must be built knowing those impacts. So when they meet with the village staff, we go through those impacts, and when they're proposed in front of the commission, we talk about those impacts as well.
Okay. Well, just my biggest concern is I'm a senior citizen. Like, that's my, I can't sell my property. No one's going to buy this house. And I don't, it just seems very hard. So.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jim Fernandez, and I'm at 39 East Quincy. And I believe this is the first we've heard of Bales and the place next door to Bales, which is just a lot, being zoned as downtown core. It's going to be the core of downtown, and that extends so far to the east, much further than any place else on that map. Why? You're going to put like the 5-story apartments that are down here down my block? Do you know what that's going to do to Quincy? And you need to widen the street, make it 2 lanes or something? I don't know what you need to do, but there's going to be so many people there, and it has never been like that before. Oh my goodness. What do you guys, why did you choose such a long distance from Cass for downtown core?
Would you like me to answer? Just want to make sure. So those particular properties, Bales, as I mentioned, were purchased by the village for redevelopment of the property. This particular request for the rezonings is not specific to a specific development occurring on the property. That would come at a later time.
Oh, sure.
What would be proposed, and there'd be an opportunity for public input regarding that.
Understand. Why does the core extend so far out to the east past every place else in Westmont?
So when you go back to our land use plan for the sub area, right here, or sorry, the design guidelines. This particular document shows that it should be included as downtown core in the 2015 design guidelines. It's obviously open for discussion on where that downtown core should end, but this is part of the reasoning behind it, is we have some maps that had public input, and that's what we based it on. Obviously, the commission has the ability to make changes to what we're proposing here tonight, so that's what this discussion's for between the commissioners.
You have my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else in the front row? Hi.
Hi. My name is Stephanie Kilpatrick, and I live at 141 East Richmond, 2 houses away from Veterans Park. Bing! So, which is what we hear every night. So, I'm also a real estate attorney of many decades and have worked in all kinds of aspects. I currently am a real estate manager for one of the state agencies. So I have worked in all sectors. I worked for a developer who kind of made Fishers, Indiana become a national hot spot. So I've worked on the developer side as well. And I also lived in Raleigh, North Carolina, and did residential and commercial transactions for 20 years. If you're aware of what happened in Raleigh, North Carolina after I moved from that, it is development gone badly. It's way too high density housing and all over the place. So my comment would be coming from my, I think, balanced perspective. If I can say that. I don't think you want 5-story buildings north of Irving. I think that this cross that you have right around the train station makes a whole lot of sense for high density and for mixed use, but I would think you would want to generally start to decrease your height after Irving, maybe that 3-4 stories if you had to get some parking in there somehow. I don't know, there's not a lot of discussion about parking behind Cass and how that's done in other towns and things, so that you don't have parking garages on your main drag, but you actually have parking for people who are coming to town. Those are my comments.
Thank you very much. Would you like to respond to that, Scott?
No, Commissioner.
Okay. Second row.
Hi, I'm Brian Schuring. I live at 5719 Buck Court here in Westmont. I moved here in 2016, but I grew up in Downers Grove, and I grew up during the years when they implemented a very similar plan. And so I know it works. It like absolutely works. When you see Downers Grove's downtown now versus what it was when I was a kid, it's night and day. It's like actually fun to go there and everything now. So it makes a lot of sense, and I think it actually really works well. I don't know if people know, but Downers Grove is planning on doing what they did to downtown to Fairview next and upgrading that area, which is going to flow really nicely into what we have planned here in terms of probably how they're going to basically structure it as well, with the tapering off to right where we taper up. So it creates a nice continuum with what you guys are thinking. I think it's a great idea. I think we absolutely need that comfortable density downtown to keep our businesses alive and create that sustainable kind of just vibe and life that we need down here. So I think it's a good plan, and I'm for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next.
Joseph Dunphy, 102 East Burlington. To address something I heard at the beginning, I don't think our concern was ever that the village was going to come in and eminent domain our properties in order to put up apartment buildings. I'm sorry if you heard something like that, probably on Reddit. Our concern was that property taxes would soar so high that would be forced to sell, and in some ways that's far worse than eminent domain. At least, if eminent domain happened, would get compensated. But if one loses one's house to a real estate tax foreclosure, one gets nothing, one just loses. So, sorry if you've addressed this, but I'm wondering, is that a realistic concern? Is there a new use being added to, being allowed use being added to our properties that will under fair and, I believe that's the term, fair and best use, would result in a tax increase spike that would be unaffordable for us? I'm just a math tutor. If I'm forced to pay an assessment equal to that would be that for a apartment building or even a townhouse, I'm wrecked. The clients are good. They're not that good.
I'll try to address that question if I can.
Sure.
The village is not responsible for the majority of your property taxes. Those are done by the township assessor and levied by the county. And this rezoning alone isn't going to necessarily result in an increase in taxes. What could result in an increase in taxes is development that occurs. And certainly a piece of property that gets developed is going to be reassessed and taxed at a higher level. Could that have a trickle effect to surrounding properties that aren't developed? Possibly, but that's not what the village can control. But I think what you raise is a fair comment.
Are we opening up, are any new allowed uses being opened up? Because if you're saying you can't put up a new house on my property, I had no plan to do so.
Yes,
I can answer that. So the current R5 zoning district allows for a host of residential uses. Many mirror what would be allowed in the R7 zoning district. So right now in the R5, you can have an apartment complex up to 3 stories.
So this is
which would be the same.
So this is actually reducing options, not creating.
It narrows the scope, but it also raises the standard for those buildings being constructed.
Okay. As for Bales, I'm sure nobody on earth has ever looked forward to a weekend trip to Bales, but we've all done it. Because sometimes you just have to clean the drain, the bathtub drain. I'm wondering if somebody who can't drive is, where do I do that after Bales closes? Because if I try to go over to an Ace Hardware, say in Hinsdale, board the train with a caustic liquid, conductor might have some questions about that. What do we do? What do we do once Bales is gone?
Bales doesn't do screens anymore. I've had to take my screens over to 63rd and Main, and that
It's a common in the planning. It's a common question we get from the public, not just in Westmont, just in general. The zoning ordinance lists allowable uses. It does not dictate the market.
Okay.
So we can't determine if, let's say, a coffee shop is being proposed. We can't determine if that's going to be a locally owned coffee shop, Starbucks, or Dunkin'. It's just a coffee shop as we view it.
So really, that was a question better put to whoever bought out Bales.
Well, what happened with Bales is they voluntarily decided to close down their business after 65 years and decided to sell the property. The village was interested in purchasing the property, so it did so, but only because Bales was voluntarily selling, not because of any forced arrangement.
Okay.
So the zoning ordinance would allow for retail use in that area if another hardware store came in.
Well.
Okay, thank you for answering my questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. I can stretch that 3 minutes when the staff is eating up a lot of that clock.
Apologies, Kat.
Next, row 2. Hi.
Good evening. I live at 312 West Burlington. Just super excited about what you guys are doing, super excited about additional development. I work in architecture and the engineering world, so we do work in suburbs across the city, across the country, and just very excited to see you guys taking a proactive approach to making Westmont a better place to live. So good job.
And I'm sorry, can you state your name for the record, please?
Jeff Lasky.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, good point. Okay, row 2, anybody else?
Back on to 3.
Okay. Row 3.
I'm okay for now.
Rick? Nope.
Wait,
nope.
you got one before you.
You got beat.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Mush. You guys did a phenomenal job. Really well. You're great.
Oh, God.
A couple quick questions, though. For someone who owns a house that's being changed from R5 to R7, how does it impact the sale if it's a small home that's the lot might not be easily converted over to row housing or multifamily?
So we would still allow for single-family homes that are existing to be sold. So if
And stay single-family home as they are?
So we would allow it to be single-family. If an appraiser called us, which happens every day, we would let them know that what category the zoning district or standards they would have to use, which will remain the R5 for single-family homes only.
Okay.
And then we would we'll let them know that the existing single-family homes are permitted in that district.
Okay, and my other question is, with the amount of homes you're trying to convert to multifamily, is affordable housing being put into this?
Do you want me to tackle that?
I'll try to address it. The village has actually a surplus of affordable housing in its housing makeup currently, including a large amount of apartment buildings as a result of annexations over the decades.
Okay.
So the village meets all state requirements currently for affordable housing. There are new laws getting put into place that are promoting affordable housing. The village will continue to comply with those as they get enacted. But there's no plan to specifically designate any properties or any areas as allowable for low-income housing. Housing is housing as far as the village defines it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I get called up?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Rick Martin. I am a resident and have been for pretty near 30 years. Have seen quite a change. It has grown slowly in its development, and it's on the verge of getting there now. I'm hoping that this gets us there and it doesn't take forever to do this. So I wish you all the best of luck, and make sure that you consult with those in town here that have seen where we've been and where we're going. Thanks.
Thank you, Rick. Row 3.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Murray. I am a resident at 140 West Burlington Avenue. So we're being converted from R5 to R7, and of course the one thing that's changing is we're losing the single-family homes. Now, one of my concerns is we've made a lot of upgrades to our home over the last 8 years that we've owned it, and we still continue to make more upgrades as we go. And we know that going through the permit process through the village multiple times, working with Jason multiple times, I know you guys can be, kind of pulling arms and things like that to get things done. But my concern is with you guys pushing row homes to come into these single-family home areas, what are the constraints that you guys are going to put on homeowners that when we go to apply for a permit for a second story on a home, when we're trying to do certain things that you guys don't want single-family homeowners to do because you guys don't want single-family homeowners there? And like you said, you have a lot of residents in this area that, they have to worry about their taxes. That's a big concern. If you bring in larger development, that is going to affect these people's taxes on our street. And that is going to be a big deal. So my other concern is if I go to the village and I want to get a permit for a second story, and you guys have a constraint because you guys don't want me to because I'm not going anywhere, and if my home's sitting there, a row home can't take up my area, that's a concern. So I guess my question to you guys is this going to change the outlook of, let's say, a permitting process where they don't want a project done? Because this is not what the village wants for their rezoning areas. So is this going to put a constraint on me as a homeowner?
Good question.
I'm going to go ahead and field that one for you. So first off, when we approached the R7, R5, which you're in now, we wanted to make sure that the single-family homes that were there were protected. So we wrote it specifically to say if you have a home now, in perpetuity, you abide by the R5 bulk rules.
Yep.
So you will not have the building department saying, well, zoning told us that they want row homes here, and therefore you're under this new set of constraints. You are under the same constraints you're under now, and you can operate and have that house in perpetuity. If you decide that you want to rebuild your house one day, then we would probably say you need a special use to do that. And when you're doing a special use, you just have to show that the impacts on the neighborhood are zero impact, which in most cases, a single-family home in this area would be fairly low impact. It would not be higher impact with like some of those things. So we were very specific to make sure that the single-family homeowners were protected, and if anyone wanted to build a new single-family home, they could still do it. I think the better way to think about this is the village has been criticized, and I even heard you a little bit through your permitting process, on being really hard to build in. Mm-hmm. So what it is the redefining of this with more specific downtown residential guidelines. It does make it easier for a developer to come in and build row homes rather than going through a tremendous amount of hoops. So it makes it easier for development in that case, but it does not exclude the single-family homeowners or their abilities unless they're building new. And then it's basically a pause and a permission in order to do that.
And that I understand. And I think what you guys are doing is a good thing overall. I mean, been here 8 years and we love where we're at, and we don't plan on going anywhere. But, I mean, if you look at it's a political thing where at the end of the day, if you've got developers in here that want these properties, they're going to find a way to get these properties. So if there's pressure on one side or the other, again, it depends on it still comes down to the permitting process. You guys don't have to tell me, oh, well, we're going to row homes in there. You're not going to tell me that. You guys come to me and just say, the special permitting process, we did end up denying because it doesn't go with whatever you guys want to tell me as a homeowner. I guess that's my only concern. And that's not just for me, but anybody else that owns in the R5 district that's getting switched to R7. So That's my only concern.
And to further expand on Joe's response, the village in its zoning ordinance has rules on legal non-conforming structures and the ability of property owners to expand those structures. So if you have a single-story, single-family house that's R5 that's rezoned to R7, you can add a second floor. Even if there's an encroachment into the front yard setback, let's say you're at 20 feet and you're required to be 35 feet, if you go straight up, you can add that second floor. You can also go back. What you can't do is increase any nonconformity. So for example, if the house is at 20 feet, but it's supposed to be at 35 feet, you can't push the house further forward. You can't push it further into the required setbacks to the side, but you can go up, you can go back, and the village would process that permit like any other permit.
Okay. I mean, that pretty much answers my question. Just concerns, because I know that we have more projects coming forward, and the idea is you guys are really pushing row homes. There's always going to be some kind of constraints the village is going to put on homeowners to make sure that those row homes come in. So, thank you.
It hurt.
Thank you.
Doug, if I could, I have a pet peeve.
Okay, speak.
A couple times taxes have come up in this conversation, real estate taxes in particular in Westmont in this area. 70% of your real estate tax bill, if you look at it, comes from the school district, right? And that school district is what's called tax capped through a piece of legislation called PTEL. In other words, the value of your home isn't what drives the tax burden. The tax burden is simply whatever the taxing bodies in Westmont will levy. And it's spread across all of the assessed value in 201. So theoretically, if you had a fair amount of development in these areas, you would effectively create, an addition to the assessed value, foundation, that those assessed values would eat the levy, because the levy doesn't just multiply based on increased value. The levy is capped at 5% or inflation, whichever is less. It's called PTEL. I'd encourage you to look at it. And again, 70% of your, and I know this because I served on the 201 school board for several years. I was the finance chair for a number of years. And it's a misconception held commonly in this town that if values go up, then your tax bills are going to go up, astronomically as well. That's not how the levy of taxes in this district works. And I'm happy to speak with people afterwards or whatever if they need to. But more value in these areas actually shifts assessed value burden away from single-family homeowners. And that's how it works.
Your 3 minutes is up.
Thank you.
Next. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Noreen Kratz. I do live in Westmont. This is my second time living in Westmont. I lived in Chicago for a good portion of my life. I moved out of the Lakeview area because of overcrowding. We would actually drive down the street, roll our car window down to listen for a car starting in order to find a parking space. We were fortunate because we lived right off of Diversey and there was a grocery store right on the other side of Diversey. I did speak at a presentation that a developer that was wanting to put an 8-story building in Section 1, I believe it is. It was at the high school, the presentation. And now there's another presentation next Wednesday, I believe, at the church over here.
I believe it's the one at the high school several years ago. I believe that was 7. The proposal was 7 stories.
Well, it was a tall one.
Yeah.
But now I believe that there's also scheduled a presentation at the church over here next Wednesday by a developer for parcel number 1, I believe. Is that true? Yes, no? If it's true, I'm going to attend.
Yeah, just to speak on it, I'm going to answer it in kind of two ways. The first is that 1 North Cass, which is the property you're talking about.
Yeah, the parking lot, that's the only parking lot in town right now.
1 North Cass, that property originally had a development that was approved on it several years ago. Since that time, they did not move forward with the project, and the village revoked their approvals. So a new developer has come in and will be proposing a project on that site. The meeting at the church that you refer to at Holy Trinity on, I believe it's June 17th.
Yeah, it's next Wednesday.
That is a community meeting held by the developer only. The village is not involved with that.
Okay.
They will have to come back to the village in the same form that we're in right now and request approvals for the project once again. And you can learn more by attending that meeting, and I encourage anybody that's interested in that to attend that community meeting.
Okay, I have a few other items. You talked about the process, but what is the actual purpose of the rezoning, and what does the village hope to gain by this, and what is your end game?
You want me to go ahead and field that?
You can go ahead.
Okay, so I can do my best to answer for you. So, as we started this conversation in 2013, the community put together a comprehensive plan, and that was after many months of public input. And that comprehensive plan was supposed to dictate how we want our town to develop. Now, we are getting ready to go through a new comprehensive cycle, and before the end of this meeting, I'll mention that again. But basically, we are executing that plan. So, in 2013, the plan said we should direct development. So, in our old code system, you heard Scott say that in the B1, 3 stories was the maximum height throughout the downtown. This is trying to direct people to say when they want taller buildings, where do we want them? We want them in the first 2 blocks of town. So that when you have really low standards like we had before, the developers will get to say, well, if it's the same everywhere, you don't care if I'm here or there, I'm going to ask for variances, exceptions to your rules wherever I go. The intent of doing this is trying to direct people to where we want them to be. So that is what we're doing, is we're executing the plan that started in 2013. Now, so I did mention that, and this will be my one thing that I'm selling tonight. We are getting ready to start a comprehensive plan update. So as if you listen to me, I said the economy has changed since 2013. We are going as far with these rezonings as we're comfortable with the old plan. But the next step is we're going to take 18 to 24 months and get the public input on the new plan. But we worked really hard to update our zoning ordinance and create these new areas that try to direct development. And we are comfortable at this point with what we have before you tonight. So the intent of what we're doing is trying to direct where development goes.
Okay.
Okay, staff time does not count against yours, so I know you have more.
Yeah, I do.
Please.
Please do not try to attract people to move into these structures because they can walk to the train. I hope you understand that ridership on the Burlington Northern is down 60% since 2019. So walking to the train is not a reason to be building apartment buildings all over the place. I understand the rezoning concept of this. That's not the issue. The issue with me is use actual factual reasons why you feel the need to put all of this residential area in one fell swoop, in one spot. Why do they have to be 3 stories high? What's going to happen to the existing businesses that are there? You know, I'm not seeing, and this is no reflection on you or any of you, but what I'm not seeing is what I'm also not hearing, and that is Why do you feel the need to look like every other suburb along the train tracks? I don't understand it. Hinsdale has a setup, they have green space. You're taking over a little parking lot that has age-old trees there to put up a 4 or 5 story structure because, and this is what I've heard on people talk about on the Next Door app, well, people can walk to the train. People are working from home and have been for years. In our economy, first of all, people can hardly afford to feed their families, let alone buy gas, because they still have to go to grocery stores either on Ogden Avenue or 63rd to get to the closest grocery store. What I'm not seeing is, I see what you want, but I don't see what is needed and why it has to be a certain way.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think we're finished in row 3. Row 4.
Hi, my name is Michelle Coffey. I'm at 301 West Quincy Street, so I'm in the R5 going to the R7 section. My concern is, like, let's say there's something that happens to my house. You know, tree falls on it because there's an old tree on the parkway. There's a fire at my house, it burns it down. Do I have to come for a special use permit to rebuild my house because a natural disaster took it out?
I was looking at the attorney if you wanted to answer that. So we do have standards in the code related to acts of God that protect up to a certain point reconstruction of a building.
Okay.
We also, in your case, the existing house is a permitted use in that district. I believe we do have a clause related to special uses that are already operating on a property, which would continue to operate. So let's say, I'm using a different example, a use in the downtown, because of these zoning changes, would have a special use attributed to it. Would go from permitted to requiring a special use, they would be seen as having that special use because of a zoning change.
Okay.
Is that accurate?
I'm not sure about that provision. I'd have to look at it. I am familiar with if your use is permitted in a district and you're like a single family house and it's destroyed by 50% or more, you'd have the right to rebuild with a single family house.
Okay.
If a single family house is no longer allowed in the district and it's destroyed by whatever cause by 50% or more, you cannot rebuild with that single family house. And then you mentioned that special use exception, and that's what I haven't looked at to be able to talk about it. I'm not sure where that's found. If maybe it's under the use table.
Probably non-conforming.
Usually there's a transitional provision at the start, I believe, but I cannot recall off the top of my head.
Okay.
It might be required if it's over a certain threshold,
Okay.
is what the attorney mentioned.
All right, and then I have one other question. Now, with these rezoning and getting the townhouse, the row houses and the townhouses, and that means attracting families, what's going to happen to our schools? We're already at capacity, and we've already lost our chance at rebuilding a new school because the village voted it down. So if you build all these row houses and the families come, where are they going for school?
Would you like to?
I would, basically, in all zoning ordinances, not just what's happening tonight, whenever new dwelling units are proposed, there is language in our code that basically says that certain districts get upfront money. So if I was Joe Developer and I came in and I want a building that has 50 new dwelling units, or I want row homes, there's a calculation method of how much the school district gets, how much the park district gets, and how much the library gets, based on how many bedrooms are there, because they anticipate if you have 3 bedrooms, then you probably are going to have kids that are in school. It's a calculation method that then transfers those funds. So as the developer, I would have to pay those funds directly to the school district. And then the school district would choose how to use those funds. So if I was doing a brand new development with 300 lots, that might be enough money to build a school.
Okay.
If I was doing a small 4-unit townhouse development, they might just choose to use those funds and then enrich the existing school. So basically, we don't have control on how they decide to use the money, but we get them it's called impact fees.
Okay.
We get them the funds so that in theory, they can try to address the influx of new students.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And I would also like to add to the impact fees, they're typically collected when there's a subdivision. That's the typical trigger. There are more in the land development code. It does get rather nuanced. But typically, as Director Hennefeld said, there are many projects that do require it that do pay to these various taxing bodies.
Okay, thank you.
No, I think it went all the way to that side.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Cornet. I'm wondering with rezoning if there's any thought being put in, what if there was a major economic collapse, say like that happened in 2008, that there's little capital for building, and even if that were to stall an already existing project, because I remember a lot of medium and large villages, they would have a project that was approved and they would demolish a block, and those blocks are still vacant. And part of what I wonder is like if there's ways of thinking about how to preserve businesses, smaller businesses, and even help out existing residents that kind of maintain the existing nature of the town to help it sustain a major economic collapse where there may not be any funding for projects. Thank you.
Let's try to field that one.
I know the village does have some incentive programs for existing businesses in the downtown area to help with facade improvements, building improvements, things like that. That's a goal of the village, to retain existing businesses and help them improve the buildings, et cetera, and keep their use going. But, certain factors are outside of the village's control despite the best planning, and these rezonings that are proposed aren't really contingent or not contingent on what may happen with the economy. This is just from a planning perspective what the village feels is best. It really doesn't get into contingent planning in the case of an economic collapse. But it's a good concern. It's just hard to do when you're just looking at rezoning of property to take that into account.
Anyone else?
Oh, yeah. You know that. Okay. My notes. My name's Laurel Rugen. I live at 513 North Grant. What I have, something I read online when I was reading through the packets of stuff this morning, and something about preserving historic character of the community. How is tearing that stuff down and putting up these huge condos and stuff, preserving it? And the same on the corner down there. Nobody seems to be addressing the traffic mess that we already have, and that's just going to add to it. And it's been brought up, of course, that where's everybody going to park? I mean, there's that little parking lot, because you want to develop that too. I just see everything being overcrowded and crushed. And where I live, it's a different topic, but what they want to do with the Miller School area too, because they want Grant Street, because I went to that meeting. It's like it's already like a parade route with people cutting through from on Traub down Grant, and that's just going to make everywhere I'm hearing is just traffic, traffic, traffic. I may as well move to Chicago. It's getting nuts here, and I'm just concerned about with more of this and feel like trying to force people out of their little cottagey homes, their smaller homes. What's going to happen to the little homes and businesses on East Quincy? The row house thing, like that gentleman spoke about where he's at, I totally agree. And the other woman about the flooding, but it's just like everything's just getting too congested. And it's supposed to be a nice little town, once upon a time. And don't have to be like Downers Grove. This is Westmont. Don't have to be a cookie cutter. I thought, we were classier than them anyway. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I read through everything. My name is Candace Robbins, and one thing I really, when I moved to this town, I like the historic feel of it, the small charm, and I feel that it's just being taken away, and we got these huge concrete walls coming up. Quincy, now you're talking about the row houses, and eventually we're just going to have like a cave or a tunnel where our train goes through and nobody sees the cute little town. Now, LaGrange was able to revitalize, and it did very well. Hinsdale was able to revitalize without having the cookie cutter effect. And this is what it's going to now, and this is the trend in this country. I've seen it in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where they started tearing down the old buildings, putting up these things, and they become, like you're in a tunnel. I've seen it in Berkeley, California. The same thing has happened. You're stripping away the charm of your town. I don't want to look like Downers Grove. I don't want Clarendon Hills. I want Westmont. Beautiful little Westmont. We have the charm, but we're not going to be somebody else. We're our own people. And that's what I want to see. Go to West Chicago. I was just there recently because the big boy went through. What did I see there? They redeveloped the town in such a way that it's beautiful. It has green space, it has parking. It's not crammed in. You're not pushed in, to a lot of homes. And if these apartments don't fill up, luxury apartments, what's going to happen next? Section 8 housing. That's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You've been sworn in, ma'am.
Okay.
I don't believe you were.
Oh, you're
earlier?
asking me.
Were you here earlier and when everyone was sworn in?
I probably left at that
Oh,
point.
just say that your testimony will be the complete truth.
My
So help me God.
testimony is
Thank
the
you.
complete truth.
And your name?
Bonnie Wayne Dodd, 248 Robinson Lane. So a lot of what people have said here, I reiterate just real quick. I think we do need a new plan. I'm glad we're getting a new plan. Some of the stuff, I think we need to look at the details. That's where the real issue gets deeper, is in the issues. And just to reiterate what she said, traffic, right there is a picture of an overpass that I always wished we'd have, and it's probably not going to happen. But that would help with the traffic, because we are definitely going to add more traffic if we add more people. And Illinois has looked many times at our roadways going north-south, and it has always been an issue. So I don't see that getting any better with any of this. Also, we have a big problem with water. I know it's been said, but
Many of these subdivisions were built when there was still a lot of green space everywhere to suck up the water. Now our sewers are older and we're getting more and more people on every piece of property. That water has to go somewhere. If you've got 4 times the people, you've got 4 times the water in showers and in dishes and in laundry, and it's got to go somewhere, and it sometimes comes up in our sewer backups and in our flooding issues. So that's, again, something that really needs to be looked at if you're going to increase the amount of people on a piece of property. So you've added more water and you've taken the green space. That is one area we do not have enough of, is green space. We all pay for forest preserve on our taxes. We don't have any DuPage Forest Preserve property that I am aware of in this town. Why not? We should have some. We want the charm. We want the charm. We're being compared to Lyle. Lyle has at least, I think, 2 square miles more than we do in property, and they have more green space. So we're going to lose more charm in that sense too. I heard Lombard brought up. Lombard isn't always happy with a lot of the stuff that's been done in Lombard. Many of us don't want Downers Grove or Hinsdale, and we're half the size of them. So we don't really want that. And if anybody has lived next to a train track, it takes a little while getting used to that. The noise, the air pollution, it takes a lot of work to get used to it. And when you're building it, you got to make sure you got it set right, so you're not just rattling all your windows and your floors when you're living there. Another thing I just want to make it clear is that, you know, the construction can be good, but not all construction is good. You know, many of us miss the water fountain that was out there. And when we're talking about charm, we love the look of 1 South. That building looks beautiful. It looks like our little Back to the Future clock tower. I've heard rumor that that's going to be knocked down. I hope that's just rumor and not real. If you mentioned that somewhere, I missed it. Taxes do go up 5%. You know, if you're paying 5% at $300,000 and then your house later is valued at $600,000, 5% of $600,000 is a lot more. I think most of us have seen our taxes go up. Describe it however you want to. They go up. Other things, the South Side has a lot of townhouses and apartments. I'm not sure we really need a lot more of that. I just am not sure that we need a lot more of that. I definitely think 5 stories is too high. Quincy Station here looks beautiful on Quincy side. On the Cass Avenue side, it looks like it's trying to eat Richmond Station, like Godzilla. So that's another example of your good and bad construction. Another point I have, we bought Bales, we bought some houses over there. I know in the past the group has bought other stuff. I'm not really clear as to how that money trail works, and I think we would all like a little bit more explanation. If we bought the land for Bales, are the people that build on it, are we going to lose money or make profit on it? Who's getting that money? I don't have any clarity on that, so I'd like a little bit more.
Okay.
And I'll just chime in on that. Unfortunately, the purpose of this public hearing is to consider the rezoning of properties. It's not to consider any specific development request. There is no development request for that property. In fact, the village doesn't own it yet. So we can't speculate as to what may or may not happen, and it's not proper for this forum.
Okay. That's really about all I had then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I also add, you might want to, because there might be people in the side room, you might want to use your microphone to let them know they're welcome to come up.
Hi, my name is John Habman. I live at 224 West Burlington. I'm actually in a duplex
and it replaced a single-family home that was 900 square feet, I believe, in or about. So this is just more informative to my fellow residents, in the fact that that property was roughly taxed at about $5,000 a year, and now that there's 2 residents on that same property, the state and local government now gets $22,000 a year. So taxes will go up, and that's an incentive to the state and local government. I just want to let people, I'm not opposed to rezoning. I'm just pointing out that we need to be very careful how many of these duplex homes we put in, because it will destroy the look and feel of a neighborhood if you have one after the next. And some of these houses will be dwarfed by others. Developers will come in and take advantage of that. So I just want to make that aware. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we've done all the rows. There's anyone else who'd like to, or
overflow? You want outside this room?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is there anyone in the overflow room who would like to come? Okay. The officer said there is not. So anyone want to come up a second time? Make a different point, go ahead.
Okay, well, now that I've been assured that there aren't any actual new uses being allowed, really, so nothing to worry about.
Any actual what?
Oh, new uses, allowed uses under the new class. It's very cool. And I'm really loving the idea of their townhouses showing up, row houses showing up. Before I moved here to Westmont, on Halloween of 2022, I lived on the Gold Coast. Now, while another former Chicago was talking about how she moved to get away from the congestion, Chicago had its problems, its real problems. We definitely could have done without the 3 people who got gunned down within one block of my apartment building the last 2 days before I moved out. But those row houses, those were not a problem. Those were things of beauty. You walk past that in the early morning when the sun's rising. It's just a great hike. I hope you get them. But there's a problem. The reason we could get that really charming high-density population was because within maybe a mile of where I lived, there were 1 million people. It's like having Estonia within walking distance. And economically, that makes a lot of things possible. But as we spread out further and further and further, the population density is dropping. And some things just aren't feasible anymore. Now, I hope you're right. I hope this development happens. But for the last over the last decade or so, Westmont's been losing people. And you can't create market demand just by building things. I wish it was that simple. If it was, the Soviet Union would still be with us. The logic of the command economy never works. What happens, happens. So I hope it happens here, but got to be realistic and be prepared for the possibility that we'll build it and they won't come. The other question, completely unrelated. To look at this map, you'd think that Westmont ended at, where's that? Did it say Dell Street? My eyesight's not so good. But it goes a lot further south than that. Is there any discussion of developing that vast southern expanse going down toward Darien or wherever? Because that area could use some development. It's built past all human scale, and it's empty.
So I think you're talking about outside of the downtown.
Yeah, definitely.
You want to be involved in the new comprehensive plan. So basically, part of that 2013 plan, there are many pieces of our town that are a little outdated. The south side of town, office kind of dried up, so Pasquinelli is kind of sitting up there vacant.
Yeah.
That comprehensive plan process, which will have a lot of interaction with the public.
Okay.
Which will bring up things like infrastructure and stormwater. That is where that input guides us. So we've talked about this 2013 document that's guiding us. We're about to do the document again to guide us further. So I do think that that document will redefine what we want to do, especially on the south side of town where we're not seeing that development. And the discussion tonight is about the downtown zoning districts. Now, if that new comprehensive plan says we need more types of districts in the south side of town too, then we'll follow that plan.
Be sure to be there. I didn't mean to be completely negative, but sometimes we can get a little too optimistic. I mean, the 800-pound gorilla in the room, Naperville, 10 miles to the west, and people remember, okay, it used to be this little 8,000 person town, and now it's 150,000. It's actually it's half again as big as the city of Las Vegas was when Reagan was voted into office. That's huge growth, and everybody's thinking, oh, baby us. Naperville was a fluke. Naperville started growing explosively because the southwest sides of Chicago were destroying themselves, and there were lots of hardworking, smart young couples who all had the money to be able to move really quickly and get away from the street crime. That was a one-time thing. Naperville was really small, Chicago was really big, so when you get that big burst of people who suddenly need a place that's far enough out that the street crime won't find them, but still close enough you can commute to work in the morning, well, that's an explosion. Okay, it's not going to happen again.
All right, sir. Thanks a lot. Anyone else want a second shot? Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a quickie. The vast majority of everything that I see up here is pretty. Oh, by the way, back at that one that you just got off of.
Sorry.
What's purple?
Purple is M1 Limited Manufacturing.
Would have been good to put that up in the key.
I apologize.
I'm just saying. The bottom line, though, is most of this is a very, very good idea. But the fact that we're extending the railroad track area out further, doesn't do anything for the people who live there.
It doesn't do any what?
Doesn't do any good for the people who live there, putting like row homes out. Quincy can be such a quiet street most of the time, and they still race up and down there. Oh my gosh, if you put another 1,000 people in that area or 500, it's going to get really crazy. And if that doesn't do something to your home's value, oh my gosh, I'd be really surprised. And it's not going to be good. So, have a good one, guys.
I just want to say, in a nutshell, from everything that I'm hearing is...
Yeah, and you repeat your name for us.
Oh, repeat? Sure. Bonnie Wayman Dodd, 248 Robinson Lane. Is that we want to be more of a Long Grove, more of a quaint little small town, because we're sandwiched in these big towns, and we don't have the space for those big towns. We're never going to be Naperville. We're not going to be these. We don't have the land for it. So make us more of the quaint little town. Give us more clock towers and less 5 stories. That's all.
I'm back again. Candace Robbins. All right. We're going to put all the stuff on Quincy. We're going to put in these townhomes. We're going to put in apartment buildings. We're going to do something on Burlington, right? Right along the railroad tracks. We not only have the Burlington, our commuter train, we have freight running on that track. If that derails, it's going to go every which way. It's just not going to be a little thing falling off the railroad tracks. It's going to be a huge derailment. There are a lot of hazardous materials. It's going to be very difficult. You're going to have to abandon that whole area. How are you going to get in your burro cranes and everything else to take care of this derailment? So this is something else, not only the aesthetics of the town, but we're working with a railroad, and we have to consider everything that they carry. And they do carry nuclear, and they carry very hazardous materials. Whether they say it or not, they do. And we have to be aware of that. So when we're planning and we're looking at zoning, or wherever it's going to go, we have to keep this in mind so that we're not harming a lot of people. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Then at this point, I will close the public comment portion of the public hearing. And we will proceed with the commissioners. And we'll be taking these one at a time and voting on them one at a time, as we said. We'll first discuss PZC 014. That is the motions for B1A Downtown Core. A request from the Village of Westmont for a zoning map amendment to rezone the properties listed in the agenda from the B1 Downtown Edge District to the B1A Downtown Core District.
Chair Carmichael, if I could kind of explain how commissioner discussion might work for some new members.
Please do, yeah.
For the public hearing, having heard from staff, often there's also a separate petitioner. Next is the opportunity for public to comment, which we did. That has now been closed. Now that the commissioners that have heard from staff, who have heard from the public and have read the materials, as I'm sure many of you have, they will discuss the items amongst themselves. If they have any further questions of staff or have any points regarding any public comments that were brought up, this first one, so you know in the agenda there are 10 requests tonight. The commission will discuss them one by one. So the first one that Chair Carmichael just read is for most of the properties in the red area that are in the being proposed to the B1A proposal, except for the Bales property, I'll look at a different map. The Bales property, the Westmont Metro Station, and then the Bank of America at 139 Cass Avenue. Those properties are not being discussed by the commission. They'll be discussed in a few moments on their own.
Okay. John, you had it.
Well, the only question I have is, there were a lot of comments made, and what what I don't want to do is just vote on it and then make the comments in a discussion portion. Will we have a chance to do the commissioner remarks before we get into this? Because I have a list of things that, I mean, we're missing about 80% of the audience that I could have answered their gripe or grievance that I could, from a logical land use legal explanation, could solve for them, or at least put it on the record. You know, like a non-conforming use versus permitted use versus special use. I think he did a great job, but I don't want to just jump into it without making it seem like we haven't addressed some of these. So do I have to divide this into each of the sections?
I think it's more orderly for the commissioner discussion to go item by item.
Okay.
But to the extent non-conformity might apply to any of them, you can bring it up whenever you want.
And anything you wanted to state, even if they're not in the room anymore from previous people, it would be reflected in the minutes.
Yes, and the meeting is also being recorded on YouTube, so there will be a video recording of this as well.
Okay. Yep. Thank you for that. So, any commissioner comments on this rezoning?
I'd like to begin on this. There were some concerns where the homeowners mentioned saleability and the ability of being able to continue their use. Some towns are different. Most of the time, when something is allowed and then no longer permitted in the future, it would be considered a legal, non-conforming use, right? One of the things that I do want to make sure of, this was a great point that was brought up by, I have it on here, 51%, last name I think was Coffee from 301 West Quincy. The rebuild letters, I know some towns issue that. I'm guessing that we have in our code, like almost every other municipal jurisdiction, that if more than 51% of a non-conforming property is burned down or whatever it is, destroyed, that you lose that original designation. I think what I would recommend to the board to kind of not complicate matters is to assure the residents that if their use remains residential, right, if they're using the grandfathered in use, that they be permitted to be able to rebuild. However, if they vacated that use and someone uses it for a business, you don't get to go back and say, hey, I want to make it by right single family. And so I think ultimately that's the trend, that what we're trying to do is, we don't know who's going to sell and when they're going to sell. And some people like the historical value, and I'm having a blast from the past because I know Back to the Future and the clock tower, and I'm thinking, my daughter's not going to know what that means. So I've reached that point in my life. But one person might like the historical aspect, but if I'm the owner, I want the ability to sell. It's my asset. And so you can't encumber one sometimes. Zoning can be very contradictory, it's very upsetting, and it's very complex. And especially when it comes to individual rights versus collective good, it oftentimes conflicts or has run-ins. Ultimately, if you like the historical view, then as the owner, you don't sell it, or you sell it to someone who's going to do it. At the same time, if this development or these proposed rezonings increase your property value, you don't have to sell to whoever it is who wants to build row homes. You can keep your home. This is not forcing anyone to sell their home to build row homes, but it does allow the option for an owner to sell their home and buy and allow a developer to create row homes. Some people might say, well, I don't want it, so I don't want my neighbor to be able to do that. It works both ways. They might say, I don't want you to be able to keep a single family. I want you to be able to do row homes. So it's a push-pull. At some point, what we're trying to do is allow a little bit more uniformity through the village so that you don't have a scenario where you have manufacturing in this district, which is a very, very high use and unrestricted use, combined with residential in the other areas. There's some things in our map that just need correction, and it's great that we're redoing the comprehensive plan coming up after we just did the zoning code. But I think that those concerns, although they're valid, everything else on there is ultimately whether or not we want to prioritize the owners to make decisions. And can we just pull up the one item where it shows permitted versus special use versus prohibited? That's the only thing I want to put on the record. There was a gentleman who I think made a few comments about staff if he wanted to build an addition. And so easiest answer is, if something is permitted, you come in and get the permits for it. So if the height for a RS5 or R5 house is 35 feet and you only have one story and it's 20 feet and you want to go to 30, you come in for the permit. But if you want to go to 40, you don't get that by right. You have to go in front of the village, and it is allowed to be used against your case of this is not what the long-term view is for the plan. It doesn't mean you're going to lose, but what I'm saying is it's allowed to be taken into account. And I think there's some confusion as to how that process works. So again, if you have the house there, it doesn't stop you from following the bulk areas, or the bulk standards are the same now for those single families as they will be in the rezoning. It just allows more opportunities if a developer wants to come in. And here's the reality is right now we just don't have enough people wanting to come forward with ideas because they feel that our village is difficult to work with. Through no fault of staff, it's probably because we're operating on a 50-year-old code up until last year, and we're having a comprehensive plan that's pre-COVID. We're seeking to remedy this. We always have the ability to say no. That's why we're appointed commissioner. That's why we have elected officials. And at some point, there has to be a trust that we're not going to lead our community in the wrong way because we're all residents of the community. My hope is just that just because we rezone it doesn't mean that's what's going there tomorrow. Doesn't mean what you're going to see is cookie cutter what everyone else has. But we at least want to encourage people to come forward to the village to make that proposal. And that's the only comment I would like to make, which I think encompasses about 15 of the items.
Anyone else?
Well, as it relates to the B1 to B1A, Scott, can you speak to, I'm going to forget your name. Stephanie. Stephanie made a comment about extending the B1A north of Irving, and I know you guys talked about that at some length. Can you just kind of go through that rationale for us?
So the plan shown here, the proposal, went through several discussions. First was at Planning and Zoning when we were discussing the comprehensive zoning ordinance amendments. It also went to several Community Development Committee meetings, which is a committee of the whole that includes the village board. And we presented different proposals based on different plans throughout our comprehensive plan. At that time, we presented this proposal, and they said that they were okay with us presenting it to Planning and Zoning as shown. So that's where this plan, ultimately, the final draft came from for these rezoning requests. We did have discussions about much larger rezonings, but we did not feel comfortable at this time to even discuss that without the comprehensive plan having run its course for those extended rezonings, if they were to ever occur. So we did have a proposal that stopped at Irving for the downtown core originally, and north of there would have been the downtown edge. We were asked to extend that after a CDC meeting. So that's where this final draft came from ultimately, was discussions back and forth with elected officials and appointed officials at the commission level.
Because I'm curious if in any, because I know there were a number of open meetings where we invited community members to participate as well. Were there ever any comments along the lines that Stephanie made about that transition from sort of allowing up to 5 stories, and then obviously B1 is up to 3 stories? Were there any comments like that that came up in those meetings?
When we went through the comprehensive zoning ordinance update, we did present a very preliminary draft map that kind of just showed lines and locations. We felt that based on what we presented, we didn't hear a ton back from the public regarding the downtown specifically, but they had the opportunity to discuss and speak on it. Those discussions took several public hearings. Specifically the bulk standards, we did make revisions based on the commissioner's input as well as the public's for some of the standards within the downtown zoning districts that we were proposing, as related to bulk and uses and things like that.
And really, I owe you and everyone here an apology because I didn't participate in any of those, right? So, and I am new to this commission, and so, with that said, I genuinely appreciated your comment. It sounds as though that the question has been vetted pretty significantly and pretty robustly with local officials and people, and so. With that said, I just wanted to ask the question to kind of put it out there.
I think specifically your point was that, because I participated in those EDP meetings, and it seemed logical, the 5-story downtown dropping down to 3-story as you get out through the edge. And you were saying that it's happening too quickly, or it's not happening.
I liked the characterization of a tunnel that was brought up at a later time.
She needs to go.
I think that's the concern.
Yeah, would you come to the podium in it? Thank you.
I liked actually the characterization of a tunnel because I've experienced that in Raleigh, right? And in different areas in Raleigh, not just in the downtown area. And I use that as an example. I hope everybody knows what's happened there. It's just, but I think that's the danger is that if you are allowed to do 5 stories there as opposed to having to come in and get a variance to do 4, say there, that you then will get that, and you'll have Quincy Station, along both sides of Cass. And I don't know that that's the effect that the town is actually looking for. I think that's my concern about it. I don't know what they'd fill that with, by the way, because commercial is not a going thing at the moment. And I think the comment was made about residential and whether there's really enough people to fill higher end residential. My developer was doing 55 plus is what we were doing. And so you might get one of those here. That tunnel effect, I think, is the concern. I didn't know about the public meetings, or I probably would have made comment. And I will say that if I'm able to retire next year, which I hope is the case, I'll volunteer to be on with the comprehensive plan as much as you might find that helpful.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
If I can just comment, I was going to comment originally before we moved on regarding the tunnel effect. So the previous, before we made comprehensive updates to the zoning ordinance, we did not have a lot of regulations related to how a building should look and be built. With the comprehensive updates and amendments we did in August, we did update regulations for bulk to include top story setbacks. So at the top story should be set back as you approach the neighboring property. We've updated to require transparency on the first floor. So there's larger open windows along there, so you don't have that tunnel effect as you're walking, so you see active spaces as well. We've also updated some of the building wall regulations, so how far a building wall can go on a street facade before it has to have something else incorporated or have some architectural feature. So those are implemented in the code to help reduce the tunnel effect you might feel within a downtown.
And to sort of just wrap this up for me anyway, the B1, because the question in front of us at this point is the B1 to B1A, the downtown core in the red. It is simply this, we have struggled to get development in Westmont. And to the extent that there are proposals for multi-story, where you have commercial on the ground floor and retail or whatever else on the ground floor and then residential on top, it is the first place for it to happen is, for instance, 1 North Cass. It's going to be closer to the core. And so as much as the B1A designation may attach to the to the buildings and to the spaces north of Irving, I think you're a long way away from seeing a developer get terribly excited about doing something big there. And just look, this zoning map, it's a canvas. It's really all it is. It's a canvas. And ultimately, what gets painted on the canvas will be up to the artists, and the artists are going to have to talk to a lot of people in Westmont before that gets done.
Wow. Stephanie, would you leave your card with us before you leave tonight?
You know they don't give me a card. I'm happy to give you my contact information.
Yeah, I would recommend if you're interested in the comprehensive plan, contact
Notice
staff.
that I have not revealed
We
who
could
it is
accept
that
her-
I actually work for.
Accept her to volunteer right now.
I get
That's great.
clearance on that too, so.
Any further discussion on this item 1? Let's take it to a vote. Under PCC 014, item 1, the map amendment to rezone the properties from the B1 Downtown Edge District to the B1A Downtown Core District. Chair would entertain a motion to approve. So moved. Thomas.
Second
Motion
Simpson.
Thomas.
Second Simpson.
Okay. Discussion? Taking none, roll call.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael?
Yes. Moving to number 2, zoning map amendment to rezone the properties listed below. That's 20 to 26 East Cass, Bales.
East
From the
Quincy.
M1.
Sorry, Chair
limited-
Carmichael, it's East Quincy Street.
East, what did I say?
East Cass.
I'm sorry. East Quincy Street from M1 Limited Manufacturing District to B1A Downtown Core District.
Motion Simpson.
Second Charleston. This is the Bales site?
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Discussion.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Chairperson Carmichael?
Yes. Number 3, a comprehensive plan map amendment to change the future land use designation of the properties from 20 to 26 East Quincy from single-family attached residential to downtown mixed use. Do I have a motion to approve?
Charleston.
Charleston motion. Second, Thomas. Discussion? Seeing done, roll call.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson, yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael?
Yes. Next, zoning map amendment to rezone the split-zoned property at 139 North Cass from B1 Downtown Edge District and the R3 Single Unit Residential District to the B1A Downtown Core District. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion Simpson.
Second.
Second
Second
Donahue.
Donahue. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael.
Yes. Number 5, a comprehensive plan map amendment to change the future land use designation of 139 North Cass Avenue from single-family detached residential to downtown mixed use.
So moved, Thomas. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Seeing none. Roll call.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael.
Yes. Number 6, zoning map amendment to rezone the split-zoned property listed below, that is at 18 West Quincy in Westmont, from being partially unzoned and from the R5 General Residential District into the B1A Downtown Core District. Have a motion?
Motion.
Donahue,
Second Simpson.
second Simpson. Discussion. Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael.
Yes. Now, John, that completes us on item PCC 014.
Right.
Okay. Moving on, to public hearing PCC 015 has already been opened. This is a request from the Village of Westmont for rezoning, a zoning map amendment to rezone the properties listed below, all in Westmont, from the R5 General Residential District to the B1 Downtown Edge District. And you have those on the boards, Scott?
It's highlighted right here. Yep.
Okay. Oh,
These are the blue
This would be the
highlighted.
B1 Downtown Edge as shown on this.
Right across the street, right?
yeah.
These
West
properties.
Quincy and West Burlington,
Yes.
and one lot on North
Right
Grant.
over here, yeah.
Is there commissioner discussion?
Any discussion on this proposal? Rezoning them from R5 general residential into the B1 Downtown Edge District. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion. Second. Charleston.
Donahue, Charleston. Discussion? None? Roll call.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael.
Yes. Okay, item G, public hearing,
Appreciate you showing up.
folks. PZC 016-2026, request from the Village of Westmont for the following. Zoning map amendment to rezone the properties listed below, all in Westmont, from the R5 General Residential District to the R7 Downtown Residential District. We got it on the board. Do I hear any discussion?
A question.
Good.
205.
205
East Burlington?
East Burlington.
East Burlington.
It strikes me as odd.
Yeah, one of the reasons why staff proposed to have this included in the R7 proposal is given that it already is zoned R5. We don't want the comprehensive plan discourages the practice of spot zoning, so that's when whether you rezone one property to its own district, kind of leave all properties but one to its own district. So that's why with all the other 5 along these stretches of Burlington and Quincy are proposed to be rezoned R7.
Okay.
And to further expand on that, Public Works next door is also zoned to R5, but as you may remember from our December meeting, those of us that were on the commission at the time, there were public hearings to rezone these properties to the PI. It's a public and institutional district. It is anticipated at some point the village might propose to rezone this property, the public works, to a public zoning district. But of course, the downtown rezoning is another project that hasn't happened yet. But if that was rezoned PI, then this would potentially use this property as a spot zoned.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion Simpson?
Second. Second Donahue. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Chairperson Carmichael?
Yes. Okay, then I have the second under 016 is comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation of the properties listed below, all in Westmont, from the single-family detached residential to single-family attached residential. Detached to attached. You see the properties. Any discussion on this, gentlemen? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion, Thomas.
Second Simpson?
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael?
Yes. Moving to item 3, comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation of the property listed below. That's 205 East Burlington in Westmont from public/semi-public to single-family attached residential.
Moved. Charleston.
Charleston moves. Do I have a second?
Second Simpson?
Simpson. Now, any discussion further on this one? Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Commissioner Charleston?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael?
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
Chair, if I might state, for those in attendance and those watching, the village board date for this meeting was listed as June 25th. In the staff report, that was the anticipated date. It may not be heard before the village board on that date. It might be the next meeting on Thursday, July 9th. So please pay attention to the village's agenda center for the status as these cases move on to the village board. And the website online will also be updated once the village board date is set.
Okay, feel free to call our office in community development if you have questions.
That's why we couldn't move this, why I couldn't move this from 7:30 back to 7 o'clock, which I could have done because it had been originally posted as 7:30, and it couldn't be fair to the public. Now, open forum. The public comment rules and procedures are set forth in Chapter 2 of the Westmont Code of Ordinance for open forum. Public comment is allowed at this meeting for matters of public concern that are not on tonight's published agenda. Anyone here would like to address this commission on anything that wasn't on tonight's agenda? Okay. I almost said good. Finally, under miscellaneous, before I call for an adjournment, I would like to point out, perhaps I should have done it earlier when the room was full of people, that Commissioner Thomas, would you stand up? This gentleman was appointed to this commission in June of 2001, 25 years ago this month. And that's, well, it's very special. We'd like to thank you very much for your service, sir. And in addition, I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight and spending this long evening with us and giving us your honest input. And I know pages of notes here. It's being taken seriously, and we thank you very much. General updates, then our next regular scheduled meeting will be the second Wednesday of July. That'll be the 8th of July at 6 p.m. At this point, unless anyone has anything else, Chair would call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Have a motion from Donahue.
Second Simpson?
Second Simpson. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting's adjourned at 9:49 p.m.